Well, guys, it's been quite a while. It's been over about, I don't know, Rich. How long has it been since we did the last episode?
I think it's actually been 2 months.
Oh my God. It's been 2 months and 2 weeks with Diablo Immortal. And we figured we would bring in today the resident money spender, Quin69, and also Josh Strife. Welcome, guys. Go ahead, Quinn. Go ahead.
Dude, what are you talking? That's Rich Campbell. Are you talking about Rich Campbell? You're talking about me right now.
How much have you? All right. Which one of you spent more money?
I'm only $22,000 in New Zealand. That is, so that's actually not that much. Like,
okay.
Really.
How much is that in real money?
I haven't done the maths. I think it's somewhere around like 13,000 USD, maybe.
Oh, maybe. That's it?
Yeah, it's not really that bad. It's actually, people are hyping it up like it's a huge thing, but actually, it's,
Oh my God, I feel so much worse now. I've spent 20,000 American dollars, the real monies.
Holy shit. Josh, how much have you spent?
I've spent nothing. I'm just excited to be on the main monitor. This is a new experience for me.
Yeah, I know. Usually
people have dragged it from the second to the main, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can talk about and how we can do this. Now, I've managed to be completely free to play, which is probably why I stopped at level 50 and moved over to Path of Exile, but I did have a good time. I enjoyed it. I thought the gameplay was decent, and I'm looking forward to talking about the design of it.
Did you get to enjoy any battlegrounds?
I saw other people going into them, and I thought, that looks fun. And then I thought, maybe one day I'll get there, and that never happened.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot to talk about with this game, and I think, in general, with Blizzard, right? Back in the day, Blizzard used to have a giant statue out in front of, they still do have the statue to my knowledge, but on the base of it, it says gameplay first, and now it looks like it's all about gameplay first. Let's actually talk about if we think this is going to affect Diablo 4, but first let's focus on Diablo Immortal and what we actually think happened here. Obviously, the game's been getting worked on for a really long time. Asmon, I think they announced it at the BlizzCon we were at, right? It was a long time ago that they actually announced this one.
Well, I remember, Quinn, didn't you come out here for that BlizzCon?
Yep, I went out all the way to America.
Man.
Oh wait, no, wait. I went to the D4 one. I went to the actually better one.
So you went to the good one.
There. I went to the good one. Yeah. No, I was there. Okay.
I remember whenever it happened, it was just like such a just massive fucking shock. Nobody expected that they were just going to announce a mobile Diablo 4 game. Diablo game. Nobody thought this was going to happen. Everybody was excited for Diablo 4. I remember all the people there, they had like their Diablo t-shirts on, big fans of Diablo 3. And it's like, finally, Blizzard actually cares about us, after 4 years of Reaper of Souls, like just being new seasons and shit. And then that comes out, and don't you guys have phones? The fact is, it turns out a lot of people do.
It was the fact that they put on the main stage as a main event, and they said Diablo. So everyone was expecting, the next Diablo, like what the Diablo fans want. And then they, came out and said like, mobile game, authentic Diablo experience, all this. And everyone just like, it was the most out of touch, insane thing I think I'd ever. I was like, wait, is this a bad dream right now? Like, is this even real? Like, how?
It's like, yeah, Josh, did you play Diablo 3 a bit at all?
I played Diablo 1 and 2 a lot, actually. And I played 3 mostly on console with some friends of mine. We sat down, we did couch co-op, and we finished the entire main story. We did a couple of the extra hunts, then we played through Reaper of Souls. But I have a very specific memory of Diablo. I was at university at the time, and I didn't have much spare cash, but I knew how to just download emulation and ROMs, and I couldn't even afford like a bed or a desk at the time. So I've got this very specific memory of sitting on my carpet with a computer with Diablo 1 on it, just playing Diablo 1 for like hours and hours and hours in between lessons. And then when Diablo 2 and 3 finally came out, I was super excited about them, played it couch co-op, and then they announced the mobile game. Now, the mobile phone is the most popular video game console in the world. I know it sounds horrible to say that, but more people have phones than consoles and PCs. The phone gaming market's
put
bigger
together
than console and PC combined. Yeah, it's absolutely massive. But it's strange how mobile has become synonymous with monetized. Just because a game releases on a phone does not mean it needs to be bad, and yet we've got to the point where people immediately assume that's what's going to happen, and then most of the time that's exactly what happens. So I think people were very justified in having this I'm nervous reaction And the "Don't you guys have phones" seemed quite confrontational, didn't it? They felt negative feedback to that announcement, and their immediate response was to attack, to place the onus onto the audience instead of saying, "Hey, don't worry, it's going to be great, it's going to be fine, we've got all these cool things." They straight away pushed back, which doesn't leave a great taste in people's mouths.
We're the unreasonable ones.
Yeah, please, Josh, continue. I'm blown away by everything you put together in that video, right? I think a lot of us have been just hanging out, playing the game a little bit and complaining, but you broke it down very well. For anyone who hasn't watched Josh's video, we're definitely going to be mentioning it a whole bunch, and you should probably check it out after if you haven't already. He's actually made a recent one as well, which shows another layer of trickery.
He thought he had it all, but he had to make another video just in case.
Dude, the second one. Dude, the second one with the crests, I actually kept going, is this a bug? I could see it. I would see it every now and then. I'd be like, this is a darker purple. And I always thought that it was the first crest. Like, I thought it was just a visual bug. And then later you realize the reason that it's sometimes happening to the first crest is because it automatically uses that one first. You can't even select the different crests that you're getting inside of the bundles. And the game is trying to take advantage of you in every single path.
Both different crests also have separately tracked pity systems, so you're guaranteed a decent legendary at 50, but that's both 50 Eternals and 50 Legendaries. So if you've used 49 Eternals and 49 Legendaries, you're actually not going to hit the pity system on either of them until you spend one more of both.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And because you have to spend your free ones first, it's almost de-incentivizing you from using the free ones, because if you've used so many paid ones, you want that pity system to keep ticking up. So you're now thinking, should I bother getting the free ones? Because I want the pity system from the paid to roll over faster.
I think my favorite is the fact that you can only buy one of the crests a month from the hilt vendor. One a month. It's like, that's how they try to, it's like you spend 11 months, almost an entire year, and you can finally do one 10 crest run. It's nuts.
Can you actually get 50 free legendary crests if you, and when I say free, I mean the legendary, not the eternal, even if you do purchase the battle pass and the boon of plenty and the prodigy's path? I haven't done the maths, but I don't know if you can actually get 50 eternal crests.
I'm sure it's probably like 49.
Right? Take a massive amount of time. And on top of that, you were talking about the pity system. There's this massive rumor going on that you get, everyone seems to think you get a 5-star gem because it says you get a 5-star gem after you've done 50, crests. And what that means is it's a question mark out of 5-star gem, which means a 2-star, 75% for 2-star. Literally, I mean, speaking from experience, after putting $22,000 into crests, I have not looted a single fucking 5-star gem, and I've been trying for that for a long time because people keep going in like, how's he not got the pity one yet? And they've literally designed this system in a way where people actually expect it. Like it says, loot 2-star.
You're 1,000% right. I think this is one of the most insidious things with this game as well. Pretty much every other gacha game that I play, and Asmon, you know this. Quinn, you probably don't know this about me. It's kind of embarrassing. Josh, I started to mention it to you, but I play a lot of gacha games. I play pretty much every gacha game that comes out because I'm a sick individual. I don't know when it started to happen, but Asmon's seen it happen a million times. I'll be sitting next to him. I'll be playing Raid Shadow Legends, right? I play pretty much every single
sponsored. He's not sponsored. Actually, like literally playing it for free.
I legitimately play. I play Epic 7. I play Raid. I play Kuni. I play Genshin Impact. I play every gacha game. Yeah.
Did you play Raid Shadow Legends first from a sponsor though, or did you unironically play it
here's
first?
Basically what happened. They offered me and Asmon a sponsor, and we said before we play this game as a sponsored game, we should play it to see if it's any good. Yeah. And a few hours later, I was like, Asmon, I love the game. We should definitely do it. And he was like, Rich, dude, what the fuck, dude? What are you doing, man? And I was just sitting there swiping. It was right around when we first made OTK. But the thing is I do love gacha games. And the thing that usually happens is there's going to be a banner, which allows you to target something that you want. And then there's going to be pity, so you know that you're going to get it, and you have a decent idea of the price tag. You can.
Well, they had this with Apex. Like if you opened like $500 worth of boxes, you were guaranteed to get an heirloom item. Like it was a 100%.
Well, so basically what happens with the gacha games, usually the thing that they do that's screwed up is they use the token economy, right? So they confuse you, can't really keep track of even what that pity is. And then people start to go, you know what? If I wish one more time, I'm going to have a chance of getting what I want. In Diablo, they do all of it. They do all of this. They basically put their scams inside of scams. So you have no way to really predict how much it's going to cost you to get what you want. So you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I want a 10-star gem. And then they're like, wait, that's not even the only system. We've identified you as a payer. Now we're going to throw more systems at you, and we're going to try to give you that itch to spend more money. On top of that, exactly what Quinn said, it's very unclear with the 5-star gems. They're difficult to get. There's no pity, and there's no targeted. So if you decide that you want to get a certain rank of gem, you basically have to do it for all of the gems at the same time, unless you want to get deeper into token economy and use a conversion to platinum as well. I've never seen a game like this before.
I don't know why platinum exists. Well, I do know why it exists. Money. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually like, oh, I don't know why they have this. Yeah, you fucking do. It's obvious why they have it. If you buy a platinum gem, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but a platinum gem is like $600.
I spent $888.88 on 2 gems yesterday. I took the day off to buy them.
Well, dude, on my server, I saw one for $1,700, and I was like, "Fuck, I should buy that. That's a good deal."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, I need to buy it." And I straight up, bro, if it wasn't for the challenge, I don't know, maybe I would have done it. It's hard to say because I want to loot my 5-star. And yeah, that just shows you how messed up it is when you're looking. That's fake dollars, which is probably down closer to 1,000, but still, it's absolute insanity.
Well, you want to hear what's even more fucked up? When you talk about that fear of missing out. So the way that the auction house works is the auction house, you know that they give you a very long timeline. It's about 11 hours or 12 hours before the gem is buyable. So what happens there is you start to panic that you won't be able to get the gem because somebody else will. Yeah. So you get the fear of missing out the same way that you do with the banners, which is another tactic that they use to try to get you to spend money. So I literally set an alarm clock. Like, I understand what they're trying to do, but I'm still this sick type of individual that's just a rat that's intravenously strapped up to a machine, pressing the button in the experiment. Like, I'm inside the Skinner box and I can't freaking get out. Somebody help me. But the thing is I see this and I get the itch. I go, I have to be on at this time or I will never be able to get this gem. These gems are so rare. I want them so bad. I've been working so hard for this. Everything that I've done is for nothing if I don't get this gem. And I woke up at it was 4 a.m. for the one. I woke up at 7 a.m. for the next one. And then I bought a few other ones, like 2 stars that were below 30K. So it was good value. And the whole time Mia kept being like, honey, what are you doing? I was like, work. I own a company. Leave me alone.
Yeah, try to rationalize it however you can. It's nuts. Like, I see some people, they have over 5,000 resonance now. It's insane.
Yeah, I'm at like 4-ish K.
Well, in terms of the systems for the game, what I've noticed is that every single system that actually exists, it's not a single one of them is actually for the game. It's just another avenue for them to monetize. Mm-hmm. And it's not even a game, really. It's actually, they've dressed it up. They've put skin over this thing, which is like it's just, how can they extract as much money from you as possible? And then we're just going to sprinkle on the Diablo, IP and because it's everything. It's everything. Like every single in-game system and every single, like even like you look at the PvP system and you wonder like, wait, why are they like just giving you PvP points every time you lose a game? It makes no sense. And then you realize, wait, it creates like a false sense of progression when you're like, you're just queuing up and you're losing every single game, getting destroyed because you're a free-to-play player. It's like, why is it progressing? And it's because they want to incentivize these, the free-to-play guys to keep queuing. So the rich whales, effectively, they're playing Squid Game. They're paying money to like beat up homeless people. Like they're which is you're just basically entertainment for the the poor person on the street.
It's the circle of life. That's what it is, right? I mean, you have the whales, and they're out there, and they're just eating all the plankton, and you're the little minnows and plankton and everything, and you feed the whales. And if there's no minnows and plankton, the whales die, and they move on to the next game.
Yeah, it is funny. I've never seen a game developer do this before, actually taking some strategies from their legal team, right? They basically just implemented the paper shredder now as a gameplay mechanic, and you can shred all of your money. So I do think that was a cool take by Blizzard. And Quinn, I think you are 1,000% right. This isn't really a game. In a lot of ways, it is just a process, like Josh called it in his video, where they get you in, they get you deeper and deeper into spending money. And I don't think that this is the last time that we're going to see it from Blizzard at all. I think that ArcLight's probably going to be the same way. Josh, I know that you've been paying a lot of attention to kind of what Blizzard is doing, and you were talking about how there is just a bigger mobile audience in general for games. Yeah. And I think when we look at Blizzard, we probably knew something like this was going to happen when they actually Activision Blizzard acquired King, I think in 2018. I was still working at Blizzard when they acquired it, so we know that was a long time ago because I've been fired 7 times from Blizzard since then. Last time stuck.
Yeah. Now, spending 20,000 is something I've not yet done on anything. I still walk to the shop 10 minutes before it closes just to get the yellow stickers on everything, so it's 20p cheaper. Mm-hmm. But that is that's a lifestyle that I had for a long time before an acting or a YouTube career took off, and now it's just habit. So I'll still walk and try and find the cheapest possible things. You touched on 3 really interesting areas. You touched on the idea that once someone has paid any money, they are identified as a payer. So you have psychologists and mathematicians on staff putting energy and effort into working out how to monetize this best. Asmon, you mentioned about platinum, and that is deliberately obfuscating the translation of real-world money into in-game wealth. The more steps you make a player go along, the less actual value they can compare it to. Most people can track 1, maybe 2 conversion rates. But if something is worth X and Y and Z and A and B and C, it goes all the way along. And then, Rich, you mentioned something nice. You said, I mean, the amounts of money we're talking about are phenomenal. The average everyday person isn't going to be able to drop 500, 1,000, 20,000 on anything. But you said that you spend 500 and you know what you get. And that, I think, is a really important thing, because there's no moment when a game goes from being cheap to being expensive, because that's relative to how much money you have specifically. But there is a moment when a game goes from, here is what you get, to we're going to deliberately make it confusing. And if gacha games are expensive, but the player feels that they know what they are buying, then there'll be a lot of goodwill from the audience to the game. You can make a game extremely expensive. You can make it cost thousands of pounds and thousands of dollars for anything. But if you are not deliberately trying to confuse the audience, you can be accused of being expensive, which is fine, but you can never be accused of being abusive or of deliberately predatory or deliberately confusing. And I worry that what Diablo Immortal has done is it's pushed the boundaries and it's stepped over into the we are deliberately going to confuse the player base. If it was just expensive, absolutely fine. You know, still not affordable for most people, but understandable. It's gone into being manipulative with its pricing, and that's what people have an issue with. No one doesn't want this game to make money. We want to feel that it's earning our money fairly, and we feel happy when we want to tell other people about the game. In World of Warcraft, you pay your monthly sub, you know exactly what you get. I watched you, Asmon, when you were buying Final Fantasy XIV. That is a very annoying, confusing system. Have you just bought the expansion? Have you bought the expansion in days? Have you bought the expansion and the main game in days? People feel bad about that process because it's confusing. Make a process honest and genuine and understandable. And even if it's expensive, it's much easier to defend.
Yeah, I think the fundamental difference, I agree with everything that you said, and I love the way that you said it as well. But the fundamental difference between this game and other gacha games is, with most gacha games, the average person looks at the game, sees the price tag, and says, this is stupid. I'm not going to do it. And it's the same thing as like walking into a designer shoe store, seeing that a pair of sneakers cost $2,000 and going, you know what? I'm going to spend $20 for a pair of shoes instead. What happens in that interaction is the person can have full information. The consumer has the information that they need to make an informed decision and buy a product, and that's the end of it. When you look at this game, it does not give you that information. It makes you feel like you're going to be getting something. It slowly ropes you along. To me, it screams scam. It's just not a transaction the way that other games work.
And there are shades of grey within this, because how far, and again, it's the irritating thing is it's not binary, it's not A and B, there's no definitive moment this happens. How much information can you give the player and how much psychology can you use to deliberately trick them? Because if you tell them this is how many orbs you get for this amount of money, they know that. But if you then say this is how much you get for that amount of orbs, they know that, and they know this, and they know this. It's this very insidious process where someone who's designing it can deliberately say, actually, we've given everyone all the information. It's just been specifically designed that even with access to the information, it is still confusing. And that's the point we're at now. There are people whose entire job is to work out how to manipulate at 1% here, 1% there. And that's something I want to get into later, the tiny changes that add up to massive compound difference in income for this game. It's the small changes, and it's beautifully insidious when you look at it.
It really is, and that's how you know it's actually so well designed that you know that Blizzard needed to find somebody else to make it, which I do find pretty entertaining. But Quinn, I saw that you wanted to say something, and I do think it's funny because Quinn, you and I are two of the only people that are in deep enough to see some of the things that they're actually doing.
Yeah, I always
I know the systems, bro. Let me tell you, bro. Like I've seen the intentionally convoluted systems where, you know, to upgrade your gem, you have to like sacrifice a gem to put inside a gem, which you would then have to sacrifice a gem, and you'd end up like I think I went from level 8 to level 9, and I believe it was over. I was just for a single upgrade, it was 1,000 gems plus like 70 duplicates, which each gem would cost like $400 something. And it was something like the gem upgrade ended up. I tried to calculate it, but it was really, really difficult because there was so many layers of like a fuss. You know, it was really confusing me. It ended up being, I think, around $4,000 just for a single upgrade.
Holy shit! Now it's even level 10.
Well, not even level 10. Yeah. It was just going from 8 to 9.
So also level 8, a level 8 gem, and this is very obviously manipulative, right? Rank 10 is the max level of a gem. Then there's a hidden whale system that most people didn't know about right away, which is awakening the gems, which then opens up another thing to max stuff out. Rank 8 is halfway. Rank 8 is halfway to 10. So basically, you get all the way to rank 8. They identified you as a payer, and now they say, we're going to take all of your milk money, and they pour it all out of you. So the second that you get to rank 8, I believe it starts costing, is it 18 gems per rank at that point, or is it 22? It's something like that. So you start needing multiple rank 5s to get from 8 to 9. And to do that, like Quinn mentioned, you're using so many other gems to actually get their gem essence, which are hard to break down in and of themselves. And what they do is they purposefully give you a limited amount of inventory. You start banking all of these 5-star gems that you're going to need to rank up your gems. And then you know what happens? You can't get enough fodder. So the autofill automatically starts to take your high gems, autofills them in for the 32 gem essence, and the game tries to fuck you there as well.
Oh, yeah, it tries to delete your gems so you have to farm them again.
Yes,
that happened to me. That literally happened to me.
Yeah, I'm literally speaking in whale right now, and Quinn is the only person that's in my pod, so it makes me feel a little bit better.
The question is, why is it like that as well? Why is the system like? Would you ever design a system where you have to literally manually click 1,000 fucking gems to put inside other gems to then put more gems? Like, they would just, the only reason that exists is because they want a sink where people can just literally dump infinity, like just all the money into their game, which is just. And my question was, you guys talking about gacha games being expensive and all this. When the hell is it ever ethical to spend like $20,000 on a computer game? Like how can they ever justify? Like, can you trade? Can you at least in the gacha games? Can you trade with other people and then like sell that shit for the real money? Like, how is it ever ethical to give a game company $20,000 and then you can't even redeem that for anything?
I didn't believe this. I did not fucking believe this, but I was watching some streams of actual whales, and they had people in their group, and they were trying to kill a boss, and they couldn't beat the server record time, and they were admonishing the people who had only dropped 10 grand on the game. They were saying, you guys need to pick it up. Y'all need to spend more money. Like, if we want to get this and we want to make some progress, like, y'all can't be fucking around and just playing for fun. Like, so it actually does happen.
I do want to kind of touch on what Quinn's saying. So a lot of gacha games actually do have a similar price ceiling but I've never seen one be this obfuscated. Like the thing is most of the gacha games, they're ridiculously expensive, but it's right in front of you. And as a consumer, you go, I'm not going to play this. And then as a dumb whale, you go, oh, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, let's do it. And I've been the dumb whale quite a few times, but I've never felt like I've gotten got the way that Diablo did. Like if you get to rank 5 in most of these gacha games, you are halfway if 10 is the max. There are a lot of things that Diablo does as well that are pretty normal in gacha games. That, for example, there are a shitload of different servers. Why are they doing that? Because that essentially allows the one whale on the server to feel like God, and then whoever is close behind them is now incentivized to spend more because they can see their goal to be number one on the server.
Yeah,
it's a whale breeder.
The question, what I've found is that every time I answer that why, like I'm like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Why does this mechanic exist? And then the second, yeah, it literally, and it's like I used to be, Clara, you would always say that shit like about World of Warcraft. I'm like, maybe, but nah, I don't know. Really, did they really do that? I don't know. But this is like, no, 100% hit rate every single time. It's money. That's the only reason that all these fucking systems exist.
My favorite thing about it, and I think, Josh, you brought this up in your video, is that the crest system and the social pressure that people put on you to use crests, because you don't want to be the one guy that's the no crester who's leeching everybody else's stuff, man. And like, that is the most beautiful thing about the game, is not only does it steal your money, but it gives you an incentive to shame people for not letting it steal theirs too.
It's the in-group and the out-group. It's the human desire to want to be accepted by, I use the word cult, not in reference to the game, but in reference to a very tight-knit group of people who hold the same ideologies in general. You mentioned, Quinn, how is it possible to spend £20,000 on a video game? And this leads into the very dangerous discussion of regulation and how much we should regulate what a morally conscious adult can do, because you've got restaurants that would charge £20,000 for a meal. You've got watches and jewelry that would charge £20,000 to £30,000 for anything. You've got hotels that charge tens of thousands of pounds a night. It's providing a service to a clientele that have that expendable income, and then it is giving them the possibility to spend it. I think what we're seeing here is a 7 or 8 star hotel in the middle of a phenomenally expensive section of any country is not going to be considered by the majority of the population. Most people aren't going to walk in and want to buy a Ferrari or a Rolex, but everyone can download mobile games. So what I think we're seeing is it's given the people with a large amount of expendable income a chance to spend it. But previously, these chances, such as buying a yacht or buying a company or buying land, these chances have been limited in their availability to the wealthy elite. Now, absolutely everyone with a phone has the chance to spend £20,000 or more if they have it. And that is what is shocking the vast majority of people. Chances to spend excessive amounts of money on luxury have always been around, but now that chance is being given to the average player, and that is where the shock is coming from.
And they don't even know they're walking into the yacht store. That's the thing.
It's more conspicuous too.
Yes.
Like everybody sees it.
That's the way I see it is the guy selling a yacht is just like a guy, whatever yacht salesman out there, or like a guy selling a really, really fancy car. It's just a dude. Okay, the difference between the mobile phone game, it's like they've hired a literal team of psychologists that are out there figuring out how to hack your reptile brain. They figured out all the rewards circuitry, and they know exactly. Like you got hundreds of people all just mind fucking you, and it's with the complete intent of just taking as much money as possible, which is like, I feel like that's makes it malicious almost, versus a luxury restaurant. It's not the same thing at all, right?
Spot on. Malicious is absolutely spot on. And I read an excellent book recently called Atomic Habits, because a YouTube video popped up, and I don't know if any of you guys read it. It's a brilliant, brilliant book, and it's about the 1%. Oh my God,
you read too? I cannot.
I do, man. I do. I've lent the book out to someone at the minute. But it's about the 1% improvement and the compound interest that this will create. You improve this bit by 1%, you improve this bit by 1%. So you give the player something free every day. This is habit forming. They want to come back every single day. But not only do you give them something free, you put that free thing, the acceptance of it, on the shop screen. So they have to go to the shop now. And then on the shop screen, you put something that's much cheaper. So you've actually managed to stack several 1% things, a habit-forming come back today, and a you're on the shop screen, may as well buy something. Now, it's only 2 things that they've stacked there. But if you look at what Diablo Immortal's done, and this is why it's so well designed from a monetization perspective, they have managed to stack almost every single system either on top of another system or intertwine it with all the other systems. It's 1% here, 1% there, 1% there, and everything adds up. You mentioned earlier, why do you get given PvP rewards? I've never PvP'd, and yet I was still going on to the little codex and accepting the PvP rewards.
Yep.
I'm not sure what they were for, but I was grateful to have them.
Yeah.
And then I realized, hang on, maybe I should try and do some PvP. But then if I try and do that, I'm going to have to buy some more of this and then buy some more of this. The reason they give free players PvP rewards is because 1% of free players might go and try it. And then 1% of those players who try it might decide to spend some money on it. It's every bit designed to stack up. So Quinn, you are spot on. It is absolutely malicious. And you were right when you said that average players don't know what they're getting into when they download the game.
I've got a theory, dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, No. You forget a bit of take.
I was about to say, like, it's like you were using the hotel example. It's like the way that these games work is like you go into this hotel and the free to play players are the furniture. Like that's what they are.
They sit on them.
Isn't that Soylent Green?
Teabag them, bro.
Yeah,
no, that's whenever they were
Green, bro.
The furniture is Bruno.
They're both furniture and food in Soylent Green. 800% value, dude. 800% value.
Oh my god.
That 800%. Where does that come from? Because you can buy, is it 60 gems, the lowest in the shop? And something the 800% chest also has 60 gems, but then it has a cosmetic skin override of like a crossbow or a weapon from the first boss. But that weapon cannot be purchased separately by itself on the cosmetic shop. So that weapon must be worth 800% of whatever it is, but there's nowhere that it actually says what that weapon is worth. So they could have put any random number on there, and that is another 1% trick. Not only are you on the shop, you're now looking at a value pack. It's all adding together.
And you're terrified to miss it. And the other thing that they do as well, every single one of those value packs, every single other system, the drip feed of it is getting you inside of rifts, right? Mm-hmm. They give you those legendary crystals. Oh my God, thank you so much for the free currency. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do a rift. And then they make sure that the only things that are really dropping for players in a game that's known for its loot explosions. When I used to watch Quinn play Diablo every single day, what did I watch? I watched him get loot explosions. That's what people want. They want to see those orange laser beams. And what do you get? You get none of that unless you actually spend money. The game trains you to know where to get your dopamine, and it's by doing $25 riffs.
Well, this is my theory. Okay, so Josh, you were talking about the 1% on 1%, like all this exquisite design just to take your money. Okay, they had this game in development for 4 years, all right? And it's literally a reskin of an already existing game, and then they got the actual identical rift generating algorithm, plugged it in to create like a rift. I mean, this shit would have taken months, like maybe, I don't know, I'm not a game designer, but I'm talking, it is lazy, bro. You look at the footage of this game that was out like 10 years ago or something, it looks almost identical.
So you had the same thing happen, right? Like, I mean, you did D3 more than me. The moment I fucking went in there, I saw the exact same tile sets. It's the exact same one.
It's literally like people say it's like this is basically like D3. No. The same code. They didn't write new code. It's the same code. And that's the thing. It's a reskin mobile game with the same code from Diablo 3, with Diablo 3 assets, with a few new original things. And it's like, wait, what did they spend 4 years on? And then, Josh is sitting there talking about all these insanely, well thought out like monetization methods. And it's like, bro, I reckon they just sat there in the office all day, bro, like, okay, all right, so we're going to have the battle pass, and then we're going to have the enhanced battle pass, and then we're going to have the secondary login battle pass daily reward, then we're going to have the reliquary where you buy that, and then they just sat there like all day brainstorming as many possible ways to just like, plug in to, the wallet of whoever's playing the game, right, or the game.
Well, they probably were planning what's going to come next, right? That's the truth of it. They were probably sitting there planning, okay, once we get the hooks and the whales, what do we do with them next? And I want to bring up one thing that I find to be pretty interesting about how Diablo Immortal works that is fundamentally different from what you see in most gacha games. And Josh and I were actually talking about this a little bit before the podcast got started. What usually happens, and I'm going to peel back and show you guys a trick that happens in the industry that you've probably noticed before without even fully realizing what was going on. If you've played a mobile game, what you'll usually notice is at the very beginning, there is a super annoying tutorial where most of the time you go, wow, I am just going to quit this game. Why did they make a tutorial that is so bad? Put a 1 in chat if you've had that happen to you before. The reason for that is they're putting an obstacle in place. The game studio is putting an obstacle in place to try to identify who will be a payer and who will not be a payer. They are trying to weed out the people that they do not think will spend money. They think if you won't invest the time into the tutorial, you will not spend money on the game. And they are saving money on server space by not needing to service you because they've identified you to potentially be free to play.
You don't
Diablo,
want a player who's easily annoyed.
Exactly. Easily annoyed, won't easily spend. Let's get fucking rid of them. Now,
So
that is a trick
that's like the
going on.
Nigerian prince thing, where they have intentionally bad grammar and spelling in order to
Identify
weed
you as
out all
dumb.
the smart people.
Correct.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
It's
the
a
only
classic
people that,
scam.
Yeah, the only people that email back are the dumbest of the dumb.
Now,
You
the
waste your
games
time as
industry
little as
has been
possible.
doing this for since I was working in the game industry, which is years and years ago. This was something that I knew as a very young person who was trying to get jobs, right? Now, the thing that Diablo does that's completely different is it actually gives you an incredible experience up to level 35. Then once you get to around level 35, it trains you to rely on money to continue to level up. And the reason that I believe that they do this is because Diablo and Blizzard are coming at this from a different place than most mobile games. Most mobile games, you go into it and you're like, this is a mobile game. I have no trust in the company at all. I'm most likely not going to continue playing this game. When you actually look at Diablo, you have 20 years plus of building up consumer trust, and now you're trying to scam your entire player base. That is the huge difference with this. There are so many people that trusted in Blizzard, believed in Blizzard, and now they're handed this. And I think that it makes it way more insidious. People don't know what they're walking into. Most of these players have never experienced a gacha game like this before, and they think it's just a game that they can trust. And I think it's an indication that Blizzard's going to try to exsanguinate every single IP that they have.
I can't wait for them to reset the seasons. That's what
I don't think that they won't do that.
They won't.
Yeah, they won't do that because then you have all of the people that have already been identified as whales who will be like, okay, we're not going to spend any more money, and they'll move on to the next one. What they'll probably end up doing, this is what I would do if I was Blizzard. I would wait for most of the whales to get around rank 9 on their gems. At that point, I would add a new gem into the game, which would be the highest tier gem. That gem would then get a banner with an orange crest. You can buy those crests for a limited time only. When you do that, there will be pity on that gem dropping, and inside of it, instead of having the fixed 5 stars that you typically have, they'll base it off of what the population actually has for gems that they haven't built already. But then to most of the whales, they'll go, oh, wow, the gems that I already have are still worth something because I can use them for internal gem resonance.
There's someone
then
from
they'll
Natty is
continue to
taking
do
notes right now.
Yo,
There's
stop
someone
giving
just-
them ideas.
Good idea. Keep going with that.
Like literally, bro, they will actually do it. Like Parent, you know how Paragons exist, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, you know what'd be really good? Is like we should do like levels after levels, and then do like lo and behold, +5 main stat and Diablo 3. Okay, don't give them ideas, Rich.
Somebody was
I mean,
Paragon
we feel it.
20,000.
I saw a terrible system. I used to, back when I was in school, me and my friends played RuneScape, and then a few friends moved up to Warcraft, and I couldn't afford Warcraft at the time, so I said, hey guys, come and play Runes of Magic, which was like bad free Warcraft. And I got contacted by the Runes of Magic guys a couple of months ago, and they said they were going to start a new server. The new server was going to be pay to win, obviously, because you could just buy level boost and you could buy all the inventory space, you could buy this, but there would also be bonuses for world firsts on this new server. So first person to kill a boss gets a +1% permanent boost to damage, +1% permanent boost to defense. And then a couple of months later, they said you'd be able to transfer your characters from that server to another server. So whales had to start new characters, pay a load of money against other whales in order to get these world firsts, then transfer back. So what you were saying is what we're going to see next whales fight whales to get to the top. And as soon as that top is established, what we need to do is reset the fight. You can do it by adding levels on top, adding extra levels of gems, or resetting the season, but that's always dangerous to do because you're going to annoy people. So now it's another level of psychology. What new fight can we add? What new system can we make people race against each other in that we can monetize that isn't going to scare off the high-paying players? There's another question, Rich. I want to ask you about this because you've been involved in the industry before.
Yeah.
A lot of the early cash shops items are very cheap, 99 cents, 89p. On a lot of phone settings, once you have purchased something once, it doesn't ask for confirmation when you purchase subsequent things.
So, yeah, I heard that they were going to, I heard that a lot of the stores were going to change from that. So what they used to do is you would scale, right? You would get the confirmation on a 99-cent purchase, and then you would have nested scaling with progression. So it would go from like 99 cents, 199, then you would do a 5.99 jump, 8.99, and then eventually you have people dropping $50 and they never even need to put in their password. Yeah. The other thing that made it easier for the mobile companies to get money, because back in the Zynga days, you needed to type in your password, right? So that slowed people down. The thing that the game companies are able to do now to people is they get money off of the facial recognition, and it's a lot quicker. Like, it is a million times quicker. And that actually makes it easier for people to spend.
Wait, so they use facial recognition so you can spend money on the game faster?
It's the Apple facial recognition for the store. Like, if you double click, it will automatically pay based off of your facial recognition. So it's a double click. You never have to type in a password. That's not facial recognition being tapped by the game. But don't worry, all of your information is being used by all of these games.
Yeah, they had that, and by the way, that was in the beta files. They had they said it was for like some feature, but we all know like that it was absolutely not. They 100% were trying to. If they found out they can make more money with facial recognition, it's going to be in the game.
Yeah, the main reason that I would see not using facial recognition for systems like this is it's relatively redundant. The player behavior is so predictable at this point that using facial recognition is just going to make your game not optimized, right? They already know they know that they're going to get the 20%, and then they're slowly going to even the 20% that's spending money isn't valuable enough, and they're going to whittle them down over time. With the way that this game actually works right now, you would need to sell about 20 million copies of Diablo on the floor. 20 million copies of Diablo you would need to sell to compete with this game in Q1. So think about it this way. With the game being free, they had 10 million downloads the first day. They're never going to be able to get that. This game, I guarantee you, by the end of its first quarter, will make somewhere in between $1 to $2 billion. And it's pretty easy math to figure out, because if you look at a lot of other gacha games with much smaller audiences and no audiences before it even existed, they were able to make that amount. And also it will drop off very quickly. And the first quarter is just going to make more than anything else. The first year is going to make more than anything else. And then the amount of money it's going to make is going to dramatically drop off.
I really can't wait for Diablo 4. That's going to be fun.
Did you actually think the 4 is going to be pay to win?
So they said that it was built around cosmetics, right? You ever played BDO?
Anchored, yeah.
Do you ever play BDO?
I have not played BDO now.
You buy cosmetics.
It's of it. That's didn't you have to buy a pet that originally you had to buy a pet that picked up items for you on the floor?
Was that a free play game?
You could say that, but not really. I think that originally it was like you'd spend a little bit of money on it, and then it had like a store. So like in BDO, what you do is you buy costumes, and then you can sell them.
And those costumes have stats attached, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they increase. Yes, they do.
But they're not. You're not paying for a base game, right? So I got it. Like maybe
it was originally paid. It was a buy to play game as well. It was, I think, £19. Then it got reduced to £5.
I'll never forget Asmon calling me one day and just describing his golden underwear to me. And he was like, "Yeah, I got my good luck underwear."
Yep,
and I had no idea what he was talking about for the line. I didn't know he was talking about BDO at first. I was like, "Why did you call me, man?"
Well, I think we're going to see more games doing this stuff, right? Whether it's like golden magic +1 luck underwear or whatever else, because, you know, you see a game like, I think the 3 games that are really breaking down these barriers, number 1 was Genshin Impact. I think Genshin Impact was like the turning point in the West where like people were like, yes, it's pay to win. Yes, it's an obvious ripoff of Breath of the Wild. And yes, I'm having fun. And so I'm gonna buy more anime waifus, right? And that's it. Then we had Lost Ark come out. Lost Ark, pretty good game, although it's pay to win. And now we have Diablo Immortal. I can't see more game companies doing this. And also, like, yeah, people in chat mentioned FIFA too. That's a whole new can of worms. That's probably worse than all of them.
Well, FIFA's just a gacha game where you collect middle-aged millionaires instead of anime girls. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I don't get why people are doing that instead of collecting the waifus. That's the one I don't understand. I will say, you know, pretty much every step of the way, when you mention Genshin and when you mention Lost Ark, as somebody who's already playing gacha games, I was pretty okay with those games, right? I was pretty supportive. And the thing is now is you're going to start to see companies like Blizzard taking more advantage of these systems. And I think overall what needs to happen, because the game companies aren't going to change. Like they're not going to. The only way that they're going to change is the way that Blizzard did. I think the one good thing that can come out of Diablo is they're a company that has much more attention on them than any other company is going to, that's going to be making games like this. Maybe change can actually happen, because if there isn't actually legal change taken, then why would these companies walk away from making oodles and oodles of money? I think that what needs to happen in gacha games, there needs to be a defined price tag with pity on what the high end of a system is going to cost. I think that they need to limit the amount of nested tokens that you can have, nested token economies, because that makes it harder for people to figure that out. I think there needs to be some sort of label on all of these games that identify how pay to win they are, so people aren't walking into it. Remove tokens entirely. I think that that's reasonable. Imagine if you can use Genshin Impact as an example. Imagine if you walked into Genshin Impact and it said, hey, this character is guaranteed in this much money. You know that you can get lucky, you might get it a little bit earlier, but it's guaranteed in this much money, and it said money instead of tokens. Everybody would make the decision with full information. I think that that's just fair. If people want to have an decision,
they wouldn't do it. It's like if it said, hey, this is $500, $2,000, nobody's going to go to the store and click the $2,000 button. Nobody does that. The reason they do it is that they take a bite out of you one at a time, $5 at a time.
Here's the difference with these other games too, though. People would play those games, right? In a way that they won't play Diablo, because in a lot of these pay-to-win games, or a lot of these games with MTX, the way that they work is the free-to-play player and the whale are playing the same game and they're interacting with the same systems. In Diablo, the difference is you are only interacting with the pay-to-win system if you are paying, right? That's it. You have to pay to get into the rifts. So you're not obtaining this free-to-play currency and getting into it. The thing that these gacha games do is they allow you as a free-to-play player explore the game, start to value the things inside of the economy in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. And then you go, you know what? This waifu is worth $50 to me, is worth $200 to me. And then willingly you would make the decision. They kind of do it over time. Blizzard just instantly kind of goes, hey, we've made the crocodile of mobile gaming, time to tie up. And then they just beat you up. They throw a bag over your head and you're riding in the helicopter with Uncle Bobby. And I think it's a very interesting thing to see, but I think they're taking a lot of the goodwill of their community and abusing it.
What I think is why... Go on, you go first, Quinn. Go on.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, like, why are we even talking about tokens and all this stuff? They're not going to... Think about it. You're Blizzard, right? We're talking about D4, okay? How are you going to make the most money possible? Are you, like... Think about the audience that likes Diablo 2, that likes Diablo, what's Diablo 2, Diablo 3, they're kind of a different game, but whatever. Think about who they're making Diablo 4 for. Nobody wants pay to win. The audience, if they try and put pay to win in that game, there is going to be a massive negative backlash.
That's what I thought about WoW.
okay, it's kind of depressing when you put it like that. But maybe I'm coping super hard. But if I'm Blizzard, I'm trying to make the most money possible. I'm going to pander to my audience of Diablo gamers, and we don't want to fucking pay to win in our game.
Yeah,
right?
but here's
so
the
they're going to
problem.
try and ship the best possible game, and then put a $120 tag on it or whatever. And then that's what they're going to send us, right? That's what I'm,
But
there's not going to be a Diablo token, right? Like,
let's just do the math though. That audience, that audience, right? The audience of Diablo gamers, they are worth exactly their LTV. Every single gamer is reduced by these game companies to a thing called LTV. It stands for lifetime value. When you look at the average Diablo boomer, their LTV is $60. When you look at the average mobile gamer, their LTV greatly outscales that, because you're going to have the whales at the top end that are paying for 4,000 copies of a game every single step of the way. So what you end up doing is you cast a wider net. You make a game that's no longer for the Diablo gamer, and you get a few of them strapped up for the ride. And they are going to be willing to, and it breaks my heart to say this. Think about it from the rational point of view. If you are Blizzard, you can't build up any more goodwill. You've already tried. You spent 20 years doing it. So what do? You beat the fuck out of all of your IPs. When it comes to World of Warcraft, how do you make the most money? Not by making the best game, by pumping out the most expansions possible with the smallest amount of content. Because you know what? We're all going to fucking buy it because we all want to see if the new expansion's good. Now you hit them for $60 once a year instead of once every 2 years. You throw in some shitty little cosmetics. Now people are spending $120. Now you've skewed the LTV to about $70 per person. Now you add a mount that costs 6 months of subscription. You inflate your player numbers to get more money from investors to look better to the market. And now, boom, 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 you got the LTV up to like $70 guaranteed.
You got a dick company then as well. You got
but think about how long it will take before people just stop playing expansions. Think about the hopium that people have had so long coming back. And now when you tap the mobile market, they had 10 million people download this. And I think it was the first week, right? And what will continue to happen with these mobile games is they'll be able to get a huge amount of people to download them. And it doesn't matter how much we hate it. They're not making games for us anymore.
I think
Elvis and his agent used to sell both I love Elvis and I hate Elvis pins. You play both sides. So you do. If you release Diablo 4 and it's pay to win, you are going to lose a huge amount of people who would have played it already. If you can make up the value that you've lost in those free players in the pay-to-win aspect of the people who stay, the people who are happy to pay money, then it was a sound financial decision. If you lose a couple of million players because it's pay-to-win, but you make up that money, it's not a negative for the company. But then, of course, you do, as you say, you have a dick company. So what you do is you play the nostalgia, and you sell classic versions of your old games, because people will say, oh, this used to be better back in the classic, let's sell Diablo 2 remastered, let's remaster Warcraft 3. You tap into this incredibly lucrative pay-to-win market at the expense of your audience's goodwill, and then you sell the exact product that created that goodwill in the first place. You're double dipping, almost triple dipping into your own IPs. Yes, there will come a point where this eventually bubbles over and cannot sustain itself. That point doesn't seem to be yet. There's probably a couple more years in this, because Asmon, you made me laugh a lot when you said that the WoW token came out, and yes, World of Warcraft did lose players, but it didn't lose profits. It still made a lot of money from it. So how much can we push the current player base, and how much nostalgia can we sell before the current player base actually genuinely leave?
It's like running ads on Twitch, right? I mean, like, if you run ads all the time, like, yeah, maybe some people will leave, but if you run like a minute or 2 minutes of ads an hour, there's probably not that many people are going to leave, and you're going to make it up by the extra revenue, and that's just all there is to it. That's what happens. And like in Diablo 4, this is what I would assume is going to happen. I think that it's going to come out, and people are going to genuinely think that it's not pay to win. And then there's going to be some sort of a season. And
hey, let's not talk about the Twitch ads anymore.
Yeah, whenever that season happens and the season goes down and everybody sees like, oh my God, you can do this, you can do that. Here's an example that a lot of people might not remember. Quinn, did you play Diablo 3 whenever it first came out?
Yeah, for a little bit when I was in the army, but yeah.
Do you remember whenever people would trade WoW Gold for Diablo Gold?
I do recall that, yes.
And now you can buy WoW Gold?
Yeah.
So you'd be able to...
Yeah. I mean, but that's supposed to be TOS, though, right? I feel like in that TOS, like you're breaking rules doing that.
Blizzard lets people, streamers, do it openly, just openly on stream, between like BC and retail WoW.
I think the fundamentally depressing thing the realization I've come to is that, like, you asked the question, as Josh was talking about, like, you know, making nostalgia like games and just re-releasing old games, all that. I think it's like, why does Diablo 4 exist? And you ask, and it's like, okay, it's because some guy in Activision Blizzard is like, yo, we need money. Like, okay, go to work, you know, get that out. And it's like, and it's kind of sad that that's the case, because then you look at then you compare. I mean, I'm not a PoE Andy, but like, I am PoE Andy. One can say, you say, well, why does Path of Exile exist? Well, there's a guy called Chris Wilson who absolutely loved Diablo 2, and you know, he saw what happened with D3 getting absolutely butchered and, like, you know, turned into this RMT like auction house bullshit, like not the authentic Diablo experience, and he wanted to make a game that lived up to that, and, like, you know, the true successor. And it's like, how do we, like, I really like Diablo. Like, how do we unbrick Blizzard so they actually start, like, they need passionate people or something working there that aren't just trying to, like, milk us? Because honestly, like, the whole Diablo Immortal thing is so depressing. And then D4, like, I want it to be good, but then you think, like, why does it exist? And it's just some fucking guy at Activision Blizzard who's just you know, like, told whoever the heck, what is his name, you know, Rod, to make a Diablo 4 game. Yeah. And I don't know.
Chris Wilson's probably on cloud 9 right now, watching everything with Diablo Immortal. He's probably sitting back in his chair right now, talking to everybody.
They wish they had me.
Yeah, they're like, do whatever the heck you want for the next 2 leagues. We won. Like, they can do no wrong. They are the gold standard. But I will say, the one thing that made me hopeful when it came to a lot of the IPs with Blizzard was everything that was going down with Microsoft, right? And one of the reasons for that, and a lot of people are probably going to have a knee-jerk reaction to this, but when you look at Microsoft coming into play, what are they potentially trying to do? They're taking a massive gamble. They're gambling even more anytime that you play it than when you play a Blizzard game, but they're taking a massive gamble that Web3 might be a thing. And then with that, they want as many IPs that they can that have already existed for a long time, that they're going to be able to tap into that nostalgia for. They're going to be able to make videos. They're going to be able to do whatever future entertainment stuff exists. So they want World of Warcraft. They want to have, it doesn't matter, right? It's worth the gamble for them in case that it does. You're probably right that it won't happen, but that's why you take the gamble, because then you're able to tap people for money and you're able to make money long-term off the IP. And that's when it matters to actually have goodwill. It's worth making a good product and a product that people love. Now, the thing is if you're not taking that gamble, the math equation is quite simple. It would take like 100 years to be able to make the money that you would be able to make just scamming your people in the short term. And it's obviously not 100 years, but when they figure that out and you look and you say, okay, if the game is successful for this long, if we're able to grow the IPs for this long, this is how much they're worth in maybe 10 years, compared to we can make that money in 1 year off of making mobile games that are very predatory, and we do it for every single IP. We act on that nostalgia. What do you think the company's going to do? They're going to lean in the route of making these predatory mobile games, because guess what? It's not illegal. And that's why the only way that this stuff changes is if there is actually change in the world and actual legislation that stops some of the predatory practices. Like I said, I have no problem. We've started to, right? We've started to.
I often feel that it's not illegal is a justification that's never really given for anything good. It's always given for something that is somewhat dodgy, that is being justified that it's not illegal yet. Yep. Now, you mentioned Wilson, and I gave Path of Exile a go after playing Diablo Immortal, and I really enjoyed Path of Exile. I had a good time, made a witch character, pushing toward a necromancer, going for a minion master build, being followed around with zombies and skeletons. And after playing, I got a lot of messages from people saying, did you know this is pay to win? When you get to the end game, you will need to buy stash space. You will need to spend money on this. You'll need to spend money on this. So I said, how much is that going to cost me? And between 20 to 40 pounds for stashes across all the characters. And I laid all the numbers out, and I thought that seems like an acceptable amount of cash to spend after 100 or 200 hours worth of gameplay that's going to take to get me there. And that leads to a really interesting thing, because you mentioned earlier, when are people going to get fed up with this? You want to give your hardcore fans an out. You want to give them an actually no, it's not. And you want to make sure that when you're talking about other games, you go down the route of, actually, look, that is. You want to give your own game as much monetization as you can, but a little bit of wiggle room to make it easy to justify. And when you're attacking or discussing another game, because these conversations often online do become attacks instead of debates, it's very difficult to have an online conversation. You want to look at the bad things they do while justifying what you do. There's the old adage that you judge yourself by your intentions, but other people by their actions. So you can judge your own game by what it could theoretically do, but you'll judge a game that you don't like by what it practically has to have done. So when will they stop making money? When they stop giving their fan base the out to justify why it's making money.
I think the worst part about it is the fact that some people eat shit for so long, they start to tell themselves it tastes good. There's a lot of people out there that they don't mind it being pay to win. They're fine with that. It's like, it's fine. Some people don't have as much time to play. Well, they can put in a little bit of money and catch up. Yeah, I've actually seen people that make excuses for it and are completely okay with like these gambling pay to win bullshit games.
Does it need to have an excuse made? Is it possible to say, yes, it's pay to win and I enjoy the game?
Yes!
That's a totally possible thing to say.
I think it's okay.
When people say it's pay to win, they often believe that what you're actually saying is this game has no inherent value because of a system it has. Nothing is all good or all bad. It can provide a good experience and be phenomenally expensive and abusive. It can provide a bad experience and be totally free. There is value to be found. So if you say to someone, this game's pay to win, and you just look back and go, yes. Look, it doesn't invalidate your fun.
You can call me a shit eater all you want. But I will say there are some games that have really decent gameplay that obviously have pay to win involved in them, or pay for variety. I think a lot of the gacha games, they're pretty easy to beat, even if you're completely free to play. But if you want to have a lot of variety, if you want to have even more game experience, more stuff to do, you can obviously spend money. But I will show two very different experiences. Like with Genshin Impact, for example, I actually love that game so much. Asmon knows this. I would play Genshin Impact probably, 6 hours a day? It was like the only game I was playing when we started OTK.
I think the best way to put it in perspective is you've taken 2 sponsorships with them and you're still in the negative, right?
I think it's maybe 3. And I think with one more, I'm even Stevens. But the thing with Genshin Impact is I actually have a free-to-play account as well. Why? Because the game is good as free to play. And I have 2 different accounts. One is free to play, and the other one is one that I've wailed on very hard. Now, the thing with that game is it's very easy for me to predict my spending and to know what I don't have that itch. I think that the thing that needs to happen is games can't have these never-ending loops that are it's RNG nested inside of RNG nested inside of RNG that the player can never predict how much they're actually going to spend. I think go ahead.
I think the solution is I actually think that somebody should be well within their rights as a game developer to make a game that's pay to win. They should have the right to do that if they choose to do that. The only thing that I don't like, that I think that we should, stand up against to a certain degree, is loot boxes. Because that's how these massive fucking prices happen. They happen because people are buying $20,000 characters at $20 a time, or $15, $5 a time, $100 at a time. And they do it over and over and over, because eventually one of those boxes will contain the $20,000 reward, right? The bonus, dead, whatever you want to call it. You're going to eventually get one of those. And if that doesn't happen, then you just spend more money. But if you went to the store and it showed right on the store that in order to get this item, it's $20,000, I think a lot of people would instantly not play the game, and it would look bad. The reason why these pay-to-win games exist and why they can exist is because of these like gambling get you for $5 at a time, and you have to do it 500 times type systems. That's how it happens.
I agree with you. Oh, go ahead.
The way that I think the loot box mechanic, allow me to explain this because people are going to go mad. A way that I think the loot box mechanic has been done well is in certain very specific, not even games, card games. Magic the Gathering a couple of years ago, and the Digimon card game right now. I think there should be many versions of exactly the same mechanical thing for different prices to allow you to buy the version you want.
Oh, if so many people are going to get mad at you right now. I agree with you, though.
Magic the Gathering card for £5, Magic the Gathering card for 50p, or a special etched version of that card for £5,000. If I want to play the game, I only need to spend the 50p card. That's what I need. That will allow me to mechanically play the game. Digimon has the secret rares, and then it has the alternate art secret rares. Mechanically identical, but one of them is much more expensive than the other. If you were to play any kind of loot box related game, and it's completely possible to get the very, very powerful, very not even rare anymore because they're quite common, but the powerful items extremely easily and extremely cheaply, but then you had a cosmetically different version of the same mechanical item, that I think is an excellent way to monetize it. The barrier to entry is very, very cheap. Allow anyone with any level of expendable income to compete, and then allow the people who have extra expendable income to make themselves look fantastic while they compete. Because that way you allow everyone to play and experience your game, but you allow the people who want to be part of that exclusive club, that rare, amazing cosmetic club, to have those. You can still show off, you just can't show off power. You can show off your amazing fashion.
Yeah,
That's certainly what
MTG
hurts
basically
games.
switched.
Yeah.
Yeah, they switched to cosmetics, right? And I remember, I don't know, Asmon, if you even had a chance to open it, but like when those boxes first started to come out, I started buying the cosmetic boxes. I actually pulled like a foil Meat Hook Massacre right when that came out of a collector's box, and then Mizkif ripped it on stream because he didn't know what it was. I'm not upset about it at all. But the thing is like you knew what you were getting into, right? You very much knew what the price was. You knew that you were going for a gamble. And the thing that I was kind of mentioning is I get where Asmon is coming from. The thing with pity is I think when you have targeted pity, and pity, if it always says you are guaranteed this character within that much money, I think that's the only way that you can do it. I do think that loot boxes in general are something that gamers love. That's why it's so easy to make it. And hear me out before you freak out. Loot boxes are something that players love, which is why it's so easy to have people predatorily spend. But the thing is loot boxes used to be in game. And it used to be tied to a boss, and the boss was the loot box.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and you used to get it by killing, and that's why it's so easy for this predatory thing to take place. The loot box used to be something that you opened every time that you achieved something in the game, and now they're basically yeah. Go ahead.
You have them in real life, and they started when you were a kid. If you were in a newsagent's or a shop and you had a goodie bag or a comic that had an opaque cover that you got a toy in. And if you walk into, in England, there's a shop called HMV, and you have a mystery box, and it says on the side, value £20.
Yeah.
The only reason you're not telling me what's inside it is because you know that if I knew what was inside it, I wouldn't buy it. You are selling the mystery. You're selling the exhilaration of the unknown, and they've just condensed that down. Exhilaration and mystery is incredibly easy to sell because as humans, we crave it. We want it. So you give someone the potential of something good, and that potential is often worth more than whatever it is. I also can't really defend Magic the Gathering much anymore because, Rich, you made a really good point. You said you knew what you were getting, and I think it always seems to loop back to that. You can charge a great deal, but if the players and the consumers know what they are getting, they feel treated fairly. Magic the Gathering, I used to buy a pack and know what I was getting, or I would know that I would get a rare from this list. Is this set? I know what this is. Now, collector's boosters, set boosters, draft boosters, secret lairs, different things, loads of commander decks, loads of standard decks, challenger decks. I don't even know what I'm getting unless I research it online before I buy it, and that has burned a lot of goodwill that I have with Magic.
Yeah, we should play on Spell Table sometime.
What is that? I don't know. Is that some Dungeons and Dragons thing?
No, I'm just trying to hang out with Josh Quinn. I'm sorry.
Okay, suck his dick. But no, my question is this a hot take? Is this a hot take? Loot boxes, you should not have to buy loot boxes in computer games. It should be because it's exploiting a mechanic.
In my opinion, I think that if you have loot boxes in a game, the game should be marked and delineated as a gambling game. I think that the problem is that you have games that they're rated T for teen, they're rated E for everyone, and they should be rated A for adults only. Okay, because this is a gambling simulator. It is not marked like that. It certainly is. And I think that's what the real issue is, because you get kids into gambling, and then whenever they get older, they have more money and they keep doing it more and more and more. Because I think, Josh, you're right. It's like we started off, like if you ever go to a birthday party, sometimes they would have like little goodie bags for everybody to come and stuff like that, right? And so it's not like this is an unknown idea, but I think one of the biggest differences is the it's autonomy and ownership versus like a digital good and like a Magic the Gathering booster pack, right? So like you open up a booster pack, you get Jace, you get Birds of Paradise, you get Lightning Helix. You can buy and sell those cards, and you have the autonomy to make the decision to do that. Whenever you get something in these games, I don't know if you guys have ever gone through the TOS for these games, but I have. You don't own shit.
Just make them NFTs, Asmon. Why not?
And that's the scary thing, right? Is like that's what could happen. And that is the case, right? You don't even own them, so you have no autonomy over the control over them. And even the NFTs that they do have, usually they still have the proprietary like copyright of it. And like
one of the scary processes that you're pushing toward, and you're just spot on with this, is Diablo Immortal managed to get around being considered a loot box because there is a step of gameplay and skill required between purchasing the crests and getting the drop from the boss. As soon as you try and regulate anything, because Rich and Quinn, you earlier mentioned about regulating it and working out what we can define, and once we define things, it's this double-sided blade, because you then start an arms race against the psychologists. You start an arms race against the mathematicians and against the lawmakers and against the policymakers. Once you define this is gambling and unacceptable, you then have a lot of very clever people who are working out how you can get something as close to that in practicality without being exactly the same thing. Definitions are going to work both ways. It is this constant one-upsmanship of what we regulate, what gets around it, what we regulate, what gets around it, and it will not stop. And we're at a point now where it's getting ridiculous, and that's why the general public are up in arms about it.
I think people are tired of it, man. Like I see more and more people, like the amount of people that have watched, like, I mean, your content, my content, like Quinn, like, I mean, people have watched your stream every fucking day, watching you just go through these rifts, and they're mauling in chat constantly about this. The outrage about Diablo Immortal has been really substantial. Now, I don't think it'll matter, but I do think it's been substantial.
But here's the problem. As much as you're saying, like, people are very enraged about it, mobile games industry is making more money than ever. You don't even need to be that clever to do stuff like this. I mean, prime example, Blizzard doing it. You don't really need to be that clever. It's all out there. There have been years of researches. Humans are little dopamine fiends. And when you're able to put them inside of a Skinner box, when you're able to act on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's why people like that unpredictable thing. You don't get that in everyday life. It gives you a shock that you're not going to be able to get. That's the reason why people were playing video games in the first place. Now you just pull those game mechanics out. You don't let them be free. You charge people for them. You're going to be able to cast this wide net, and you're going to catch a couple of whales. And it doesn't matter if the krill screech in disgust. They're not the people that are making the money for the game studios anymore. We are now,
That's all taken into consideration with the plan. I mean, Asmon, when you said that it's not going to matter, mob mentality and especially outrage culture burns incredibly brightly and then burns out very quickly.
Fades away.
People are outraged for about a month, and then they'll be outraged about something else, and then outraged about something else, and then something else, and then something else. The film Chicago is all about this. The idea that you can take the general public, you can guide opinions and outrage, because it's very intense, but it's impossible to hold intensity over a long period of time. Which is why, if you meet someone who still cares passionately about whatever the thing was to care about 2 years ago, a lot of people would consider them quite strange. Why are you still caring about that? Well, the answer is because it's important to them and it hasn't been fixed, but the mob has moved on. So Diablo Immortal has absolutely been designed to work out how much mob outrage it can hold before something else gets released. Diablo 4 will... Hopefully, people say, oh, Diablo 4 will be good. They're hoping that's one of the keys that will stop the mob outrage.
Josh, look at it this way, Josh. When they made Warcraft 3, they had one of the lowest rated video games of all time. 10 million people downloaded this game, which is now the lowest rated game of all time. They're going to be able to keep putting out games. They are breaking their own records. After Warcraft 3 refunded, everybody still came back for more. They're sitting there playing the same game, even after all of the scandals that happened. It is what it is. And that's why I keep going back to these kind of doomer takes. But at the end of the day, something needs to change outside of the company, because they're going to be able to keep doing whatever the heck they want to do.
They'll keep doing it forever. And that's what happens. It's like, Josh, you're 100% right. Every single time, it's like a massive outrage. Everybody's pissed off about it. Like, I tell people this whenever it's like, they're getting hate on like their stream. There's a bunch of like hate threads made about them. Maybe a few videos that are negative about you. All you have to do, fucking ignore it for 3 or 4 days, and it's going to go away. Every single time. And like, you ban the people that aren't really keep bringing it up, and then after a while their valid concerns just become annoying to everybody else because people want to move on and get mad about the next thing.
Bro, I can't confirm that strategy works from first-hand experience just recently. I mean, people like a few months ago...
Nobody's talking about your Final Fantasy thing anymore. They're not even talking about the Chinese salute.
Okay, don't bring that up. Okay, do not bring that up. Okay, the Final Fantasy thing, those guys are relentless. Okay, I'm not even kidding. On my Diablo tweets and articles, you go to the replies, and it's like, I'm not even kidding. Like, well, of course the guy would pay for a boost in Final Fantasy, spend $20,000 on Diablo Immortal. Well, why do you ask them for the eels? Why do you ask them? It's like, bro, those guys have a problem. They're sick. Okay, I'm the Final Fantasy guys.
Quinn, you're the reason that I had to spend so much money in Diablo, because I wanted to beat you in this game, since you actually beat me for the Final Fantasy 14 speedrun. This was the only way that I could possibly ever beat you in a game.
Oh my god.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, like how like people will just completely move on. Like I said this about the remember the Blizzard Hong Kong thing. I remember whenever it happened, and I got a bunch of hate for this. I'm like, yeah, people are going to move on past this, and they're going to reinstall the game. I've always made the joke that every single gamer boycott is 1 3-minute cinematic from being over. That's what happened.
Oh, yeah, dude, literally the D4 cinematic came out and everybody was like, that was a Poggers video, huh? Yeah, they've been making good ads for years. That's all that is. People literally saw the ad to get them to spend more money, and they were like, oh, yeah, Blizzard, I fucking love Blizzard. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, it's literally an advertisement.
Literally me.
One of the things I've noticed is, and again, this is the people watching this Twitch stream right now. I mean, there are 75,000 people listening to us chat about the intricacies of game design and psychology and mathematics. The average player doesn't care.
They're not going to see
the average person is going to walk into game. They're going to walk into GameStop. They're going to buy the latest FIFA. They're going to buy the latest Call of Duty. They're going to buy the latest whatever game. They're going to go home, they're going to play it for an hour, and then they're going to do it again next year. And that's fine. If that's how they want to live, that's how they want to live. A very, very small percentage of people actually care about either the way games are designed or the philosophies behind the game design in the games design companies, even when it starts to make more mainstream news articles, even gaming mainstream news. It's still a very small percentage of the overall gaming culture. There's just not enough people causing enough outrage for games companies to care. I mean, it's the same as a Discord argument. You can log on to Discord and there can be a massive argument going on, and it will be, for the next 10 minutes, the most important thing going on in the world. Everything has to stop. You have to solve this Discord argument. If you just go to sleep and wake up the next day, it's gone. It's forgotten about. No one cares about it anymore.
I
It's
agree,
one of
Josh.
my best management techniques is telling people I'll take care of their problem later and then ignoring it. 9 times out of 10, it goes away.
Oh my god!
I was the only
I totally
problem
agree
that
with what
didn't
you're
go
saying,
away.
though. But like, like, should you stop making videos criticizing the game? Should we stop like speaking up about it? Like, if everything we do is irrelevant and pointless, and it's like, because I agree, it's like people speaking out about a computer game. It's kind of like those guys who make the petitions, you know, like the petition Andes, like, and there's nobody gives a fuck. Like, literally, like, nobody even cares. But it's like, what do we just stop?
No, because we're not aiming for the entirety of the general public. We are creating the content for that niche who are very passionate. The passionate niche itself is small compared to the overall gaming landscape, but they're not irrelevant and their opinions are not invalid. People need to be informed and people need to be entertained. I just think sometimes a lot of the entertainers need to remember that it's a very small, a minutia of the overall gaming landscape. It's not irrelevant in any way. It's just not as massive and as big as the public gaming that just don't care about it. What we do is very valuable, but it's very valuable to a small amount of people.
Well,
Those
it's
people
actually
are still important.
Yeah, we have. They're also very. It's a little bit tricky because it's tricky waters to navigate because they're going to be much more passionate in a certain way because they're consuming the information all the time. They are looking for confirmation. It's confirmation bias a lot of the time, and also they're trying to make the way that they play games often part of their identity, which is going to be very different from a large part of the population, right? Like a lot of people, the first thing that they will say is, yeah, I'm a World of Warcraft player. Like they'll actually identify as that, right? The average video game player is sitting in a cubicle playing Call of Duty Mobile on their lunch break going, yo, bro, look at this freaking skin, dog. Isn't it sick, dude? By the way, we getting beer tonight, right? Like that's what's going to be going on there for like a lot of the average players. That when you look at the future of the games industry, my honest opinion, for gamers like us, we are not the majority. They do not give a shit about us at all. The only hope for us is actually indie games. And now a lot has changed. Distribution has changed. Even right now, the fact that you were sitting here watching a stream that is tailored to what you want, that the production value doesn't need to be what television used to be. We literally have little webcams in front of us, and that's it. That's all we needed to actually talk to you guys and talk about the exact topic that you wanted to, which is niche. The same thing happened with video game design. You look at games like Valheim, you look at games like V Rising. Spoiler, by the way, next week we're going to have the devs from V Rising on AllCraft for an interview, so we'll be getting to talk about indie a little bit more. But you have all of these different studios that were able to crank stuff out much quicker that is targeted towards a particular audience. And it's a game that they love instead of trying to make a game for people that already hate your game, which is what Blizzard and a lot of the AAAs have had to do. I really do believe indie is the future. And also, sadly, I think one of the ways that we've all changed as hardcore gamers, we kind of tooted and booted a lot quicker with these games than we used to. There are more options. We used to sit down and we played games for years. Now we're all picking up a game. We're playing it until the wheels fall off, and then we're on to the next one. I mean, when's the last time you've even played Vampire Survivors, Asmon, right? You kind of beat that
2
one. I haven't
days
seen you
ago,
play
but
it. Okay, you're, but still, like with games
I'm not
like
playing
that,
as much as I used to, right? And like you're right, like you move on to other games and everything like that. Yeah, definitely.
Man, you're a loyal guy.
It's a good game, right?
It really is.
That's an example. That's a perfect example of what you're saying. Is that you have a game like Vampire Survivors? It's $3 and people buy it and they play the game. It's a simple game. It gets updated regularly. There's no microtransactions. There's no star system for each different character for how fast their projectiles move. It just simply is a game that you're able to play. And I think there's a lot of people out there that want that. But what Josh is saying is completely true. Is like you think of the metaphor of a bunch of concentric circles of like the average gaming population, the people that watch videos, the people that watch your videos, the people that agree with your videos, the people that agree with pay to win. And then even the people that agree that pay to win is a bad thing, that's not even everybody, because half of those people aren't even going to do anything about it. They're just going to keep complaining and playing the pay to win game. That's just the truth. So it's the actual actionable audience that you can influence to make an action or not is just microscopic whenever you compare it to the overall people that are playing the game. And those are massive groups of people that you are just never going to reach, because the idea of them looking up a video about a video game, that's like for losers. You know, they're concerned about the big game.
Do you think we should make like a? Do you think we should unionize, like Gamers Rise Up, and we should like go to the legislators and straight up just be like, "Yo, get these fucking loot boxes out of our games." Right?
I'm unironically trying that.
I think that's the play, right? Because that's legitimate change, and like no one can complain. Like we don't want gambling, and like like in our computer games, we don't gambling, advertised to kids. Like what the fuck?
How many people would need to join together to do that? And then how many people, again, this is the intensity. You mentioned about, should we do something about this? Yes, absolutely. And the people that care passionately and deeply about it will continue to do something about it for many, many years. And you might even get the mob behind you for a small amount of time, who will then immediately go in about a month. About a month is the maximum. Most people can care about something that doesn't directly affect them. They'll go off to something else. Yes, rising up and unionizing and forcing game developers to make a change will absolutely matter. And game developers will see this process happening and wait about a month.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Even gambling is only regulated so the government can make money off of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is a giant industry that they are making a bunch of money off of. The only way it's going to change is if somebody else finds a way to get a piece of that pie. I do firmly believe, though, that a lot of these indie games, they don't need to have the same greed to make the developers vastly successful. When you look at Blizzard as a company, you need to make so much more money, right? To actually rebuild your life and become a billionaire, right? Because the investors that are sitting on the top, they're only getting a slice of that. And they're going to be able to, they have so many employees to make the game in the first place. They have so many investors to answer to. When the guy who made Vampire Survivors sells the game for $3, he's making, I would guess, 60% of that, maybe 70% of that, of each $3 spent as an individual, and then Steam's probably taking the rest. Because I don't think he had any other people that he was beholden to. I think it was only probably the Steam cut. So that becomes, if let's say he's making 70%, it ends up being a pretty large amount of money for one developer. So I do think indie doesn't need to be as greedy to make large profits.
That's definitely true. I mean, I think that, like, if you compare some of these games, it's like, did any of you guys, was I the only person who watched the Overwatch reveal? I know, Quinn, you saw it. Josh,
you watching it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, actually, like, one factor is that they said that they're getting rid of Overwatch loot boxes. I don't know if anybody else caught that. That was really substantial and very surprising. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see where that's going to go. But I mean, yeah, a lot of people don't really believe it. But I was hearing them talk about, like, all the time that they spent trying to get the ambience of Portugal right for a map. And it's like, this is not something that an indie game developer has the resources or time to do. And if you want my honest opinion, I don't think most gamers care about that. But the fact is, they continue doing this stuff, and that's where all of these costs come in. Because one thing that I do find to be, it is a precarious position for game developers to be in, because while the price and the cost of making a game has gone up, the amount of money a gamer will pay for a game hasn't really gone up. Back Super Nintendo, people were buying games for about $40 to $50. Now it's about $50 to $70. And that's like 30 years almost of time. Inflation has gone up way more than that, but they can't make their money back the same way that they used to. And I think that the rising costs of games, there are these AAA studios that I think are getting into a position where they're too big to succeed. There's just so many moving parts that they have to add in these extra microtransactions and these predatory practices to even be able to break even with the amount of money that they put into making these games, because they invest into things that I think a lot of players don't really find a lot of value in.
Well, it's outdated, right? I mean, look at the model. Why is Activision big? It's funny because everybody talks about them like they're a game developer. They're a publisher. And think about how that relationship used to actually work. You needed Activision at the end of the day because you needed to actually get all of your games on discs. You needed to get them inside of boxes. You needed to get them to the GameStop where people would wait in line to actually buy the boxes off the stores. You need to pay for the trucks, the gas, the employees that were doing all of that. It was a huge undertaking that was actually needed. Why was AAA important? It was the only way you were ever going to be able to have the asset generation that was actually needed to create these large scope of games, and you needed to hire a lot of people. Now people are making incredible games over time, and with marketing that's way more direct to their audience, with things like Twitch, with things like YouTube, and also just the way that Google AdSense and things like that work, they're able to find their audience. It's not hard to find a niche audience anymore. Look at the algorithm that even exists on TikTok. I mean, you look at the algorithm on YouTube. One time I watched an Asmongold video, and now YouTube only lets me watch Asmongold reacting to things. I hear him say the thing every single 30 minutes on a rotator. They know how to find you, and they know how to give you what you actually do want. So that's why they're scraping data all the time, no matter what you do. So we find the games that we're more likely to play, which makes the old model of a big ship that takes a long time to turn outdated.
Well, we say that, but then how come look at FromSoft? Like what? How come? Why do you're saying like these large things out there, like they're old, out of date? We don't need these AAA studios or whatever. Like there's examples of companies like like Grinding Gear Games, like there's that are actually out there making bad. Like Elden Ring was fucking so good. Yeah, like I mean, and that's a AAA company, and that's like why is Blizzard, Activision, and like whatever EA and all these guys, why are they going down, like trending downwards emoji? All the games predatory as fuck.
Basically, what's happening with a lot of these studios is they're not AAAs and they're getting funding from AAAs. There was a big boom in it recently, and it happens a lot, right? Like Tencent will sprinkle money around. It's not ideal. Like a lot of these companies. The bad thing that happens is studios get absorbed by AAAs. They then start working for the AAAs, and then the economy turns, and then they fire all those game developers. That's something that happens all the time. But like, look at Niantic, for example. That was a studio that ended up getting picked up by a larger studio. So that is something that will continue to happen, I do think, because these studios want to make money. But I hope that over time, more and more AAA games come out that are servicing the niche audiences.
Rich, you have got experience in this, and I'm interested in, I want you to confirm or deny what I've thought for a while. Goodwill from the audience to the developer, to the company, to the publisher is a currency. However much the audience care about you and about your game can directly affect how much money you make. If the audience care and love you and they have a great deal of respect for you, then you can make a couple of mistakes before they start the downward trend. But you can also cash in this goodwill with bad decisions, which will make incredible short-term profits at the cost of long-term acceptance. An example from my life would be RuneScape. I very much enjoyed RuneScape back in the 2005-2006 era before the evolution of combat kicked in. And they had a lot of goodwill with the player base because it was a very affordable subscription and you got a decent amount of game for it. There was no microtransactions. It was just, this is what you pay and this is what you get. Then they evolved to RuneScape 3 and they brought in the Squeal of Fortune, which was a pay for keys, spin the wheel, get experience, gold, items, loot box, stuff like that. That Squeal of Fortune made a phenomenal amount of money in a very short amount of time at the cost of the long-term sustainability of the game, which is why they then decided to bring old school Rune back. And I saw this happen with CD Projekt Red. Massive amount of goodwill built up from The Witcher. Then the release of Cyberpunk came out. It wasn't what people expected. They burned a lot of goodwill with that. Companies bank goodwill and player trust, and they can cash this in whenever they need to. Big companies want to cash it in for a massive payday, but they want to keep cashing it in every single quarter because that's what the shareholders want. Smaller games look at this goodwill and say, I have it, but I don't feel the desire to cash it in. Is it a question of do they cash it in eventually, or do they just sit on it and enjoy that reputation?
Mm-hmm. So, funny story about this. This is actually something that Mike Morheim said to me in person when I still worked at the company. There were some other people there. He wasn't directly looking at me in the eyes, but he did say it in a room that I was in. So basically, Mike Morhaime actually talked about everything that was done at Blizzard being either a brand withdrawal or a brand deposit. And he said one of the reasons that Blizzard was so successful was because everything that made World of Warcraft successful was a brand deposit. So every action that they took grew the brand while still making the company money. They were making decisions for the players and to actually make them happy and build exactly what you're saying, that goodwill. When you are always making brand deposits, it's much easier to make that brand withdrawal. And the first major brand withdrawal that World of Warcraft took was the mount that was originally gonna
The horse.
the horse, the celestial horse that maybe was going to be on Algalon, who knows. So the thing with that is that, in my opinion, that it was probably the first big brand withdrawal. And if you remember, there were obviously a lot of people who were pissed, that were like, oh my God, what the heck is happening? But me, as somebody who wasn't watching nearly as much of the internet, the only thing that I was really watching was Forzen. But the thing is nobody was really, there were a lot of people who were playing the game and just going, sorry, different horse. But the thing is the thing was that at the end of the day, a lot of people were like, oh my God, take my money. I love you, Blizzard, right? Because so many people loved the brand so much at the time. And if they went back to doing more brand deposits, they probably would have been able to get away with more of it. But at a certain point, there's a tipping point.
I remember this all too well. Whenever I made videos about storm mounts back then, and I got hate. People said, "Why are you complaining? It's just a mount. It doesn't matter." And I remember I poured salt on my head in one of my old videos. This was from like 2011, 2012. Because I was sick of seeing these. And back then, people were against me. They thought that I was wrong. They thought that this was what was going to happen. And I told them, and they wouldn't fucking listen. I think that like there's a lot of examples of brand deposits, brand withdrawals. A good one also is Endwalker. With Final Fantasy, Endwalker came out. The servers and the queues were dog shit. And obviously, because they had built up that goodwill with their community, the direct responsiveness, and just like the rapport, people were okay with it. They didn't really give a shit. They were like, we understand. There were people that were frustrated, but overall the community was understanding. And I think that's even kind of what happened with Warlords of Draenor, is that whenever WoD came out and it had the problems, some people were angry, but it blew over and it was okay. And people saved that anger for whenever they found out the game had no content. But like, if you compare the frustration that people had with WoW in like 2014 versus how they felt about the end of BFA and especially Shadowlands, it's just an element of exhaustion and people just being over it. And I think that's what happens whenever you kind of go too far into the red, whenever you're talking about brand withdrawals, whenever you're withdrawing that trust.
You know,
Dude, I'm not even kidding. There's people in Diablo Immortal. I think that's what you're describing. It's like it's like cognitive dissonance. They can't believe that it's like some sort of coping mechanism, and they go out of their way and they say, like, unironically, "Oh, this game's free to play though, and you don't have to spend money, and it's okay, and all this." And they're somehow coping because of this, like this old the kind of image in their head of what the company used to be, and they somehow justify it when all of the actions point otherwise. And it's like, how are they living in this reality still?
I love reading the subreddit for Diablo Immortal. People making excuses for it. It's so good. Like, it's honestly like I will lay in bed and just, cuddle up with my blanket and just read like, no, it's okay. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. This is a good game. I'm having fun. I'll catch up to the whales in 6 years. While you'll be playing some other game. Yeah, it's nuts. I that's one of the biggest shocks to me, is not the people that don't care, but the people who actively embrace it, especially the ones that don't have anything to gain from it. Go ahead.
When you said, but I'm having fun. Yeah. As I said in the video, great. No one wants you to stop having fun. No game player, no designer, no developer, especially not us guys here right now. We don't want you to stop having fun. We wouldn't be happier if you were playing your favorite game and you suddenly thought, I've now realized all of the things about this game. It's no longer fun. We want you to realize the information, have access to it, make an informed choice, and then decide if you want to continue playing, if it's worth it for you. One of the things is to give information. You can't unknow something. The famous phrase is, you can't step in the same river twice because you are not the same person and it's not the same river. Once we have told you how your favorite games work, once we have pointed out the psychology that's being used against you and the mechanics, we don't want you to immediately stop having fun. We want you to be informed, to have all the information, and to then make choices that you feel happy with, choices that you feel consistent with. And if you know all that and you're still having fun, excellent. If you learn this and think, you know what, my time is probably better spent elsewhere, that's fine as well. We want you to find a game that gives you the most fun for cost that you can justify. And that's different for everyone.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that just get finessed and taken advantage of. And it's like another quote, it's easier to trick a man than to convince somebody that they've been tricked. You know, and once somebody has been invested into something and they've been now they're level 60, right? Their character is, Paragon 15 or something like that. Well, they don't want to just like stop because it's pay to win, because now they have invested their time into the game. They've invested their character. They've played through the campaign. And so they go through the dissonance of trying to make excuses for why it's not that bad or why it's not happening that way.
Yeah, there's actually another quote too that I think is relevant right now. Okay. Why would I wash my hands? I got a clean dick. And every time that I play, I think that pops into my head every single time. I think that's a really pertinent thing.
Man, my recommendations are doing even better than I thought. Yeah, is that right? No, I know. And I think the developers, they do intentionally, and this is one of the big factors that, like, I mean, Josh, you talked about this in your video, and it's just such an important point that this is not done accidentally. This is not done like, oh, oops, we just accidentally made a super predatory microtransaction system that obfuscates the amount of money you spend through 4 different currencies. No, this is done very intentionally on purpose, and that's why they're doing it. They are doing it for the exact reason that you think they are.
It's very difficult. It seems very difficult in the MMORPG world to be happy when someone else tells you they're enjoying a game that isn't your main game. I've found this, again, comes back to the cult mentality of the hardcore players in any given game. If you've invested a lot of, and you said earlier, Rich, that this becomes your personality. You introduce yourself as a Warcraft player, a Final Fantasy player, instead of an MMO enjoyer. You can find and love all of them. If you have spent a lot of your time becoming this character, this personality based around a game in reference to a specific game, when someone else tells you they're enjoying a game, it can sometimes feel like an attack on you. I would love it if all MMORPG fans can get to the point of when someone says to them, I like this game. I like this game. Great, that game's good because of this. That game's good because of this. Every single game. What's your favourite food? I like pizza, I like burgers, I like curry, I like a healthy salad every now and again, but if I choose one thing and stick to it forever, I'm going to get bored. Variety is the key to enjoying something. So enjoy a variety of MMORPGs, and I really do hope one day we can get to the point where we understand and value people who enjoy games that aren't our main game as well. As long as they're informed about how it is, and if they say that they play a certain game and you have a negative opinion of that game, your first response shouldn't be to attack them with the negative opinion. If they say, oh, I enjoy Diablo Immortal, you don't want to attack someone and go, oh, it's pay to win. You can reply with, that's a good game. I enjoyed swinging around as a demon hunter, fire arrows below me. I enjoyed dodging through the mobs. I think it's it's very similar to Diablo 3, but I also enjoyed Diablo 3. I've got some good memories playing that couch co-op. There's a lot of positive stuff that comes in the video game world, and yet we seem to be conditioned into this idea of negatively attacking someone when they have a different opinion. That's something that I'm glad that this group is changing that.
Yeah. I think that MMOs are a big reason why that happens, is because people want to feel like their time invested into an MMO is meaningful and matters. It's like you're not going to buy and get a bunch of microtransactions on a game that's dead. You want to play a new game so you can have people appreciate what you've accomplished and what you've done. And I think that what happens is that somebody who, let's say, they're like a massive fan of Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft, and they hear that the other game is doing really well, and in their mind, they're thinking of all the accomplishments they've had in their game and how those accomplishments now have less value because the game itself has less value. I think that's why it happens, is that they personalize it.
I literally lived through this. Okay, I used to exclusively play Diablo 3, and during the rise of Path of Exile,
Black and white camera days.
yeah, black and white camera days, and bro, every time there was any sort of Path of Exile patch, any sort of like hype around the game, everyone, why are you playing this trash game? It's so much worse. What are you doing? Like, how can you possibly have? And then we get. I mean, we had to ban so many people. I didn't even talk about the game. Did nothing. And I, from what I could tell, it's some sort of like you're looking at your neighbor's car and you're kind of like, you're like pissed off that he might have a better car, or like he's enjoying it. It's like, well, how are you enjoying that? You know, this is clearly better. What the hell, you know? And they literally are getting aggressive.
Oh my God.
Well,
like I remember like PoE was like the worst one with that, because whenever I got into the closed beta of PoE, they had like this free weekend, which was the first time I played it. The entire general chat was like, bro, this is better than D3. Dude, this is way better than D3. Hey guys, did you know D3 sucks? And it was just like the entire conversation about that. And I felt bad because Diablo 3 does do a few things right. And I think, you know, especially combat in Diablo 3 is phenomenal. It's amazing. The visceral nature of it is something that I think PoE still really isn't quite there with. I hope PoE 2 gets there, but we'll see what happens.
You're wrong.
Yeah, there we go. Right?
Shut up, idiot.
Yep, that's how it is. Yeah,
I mean, look, I think Asmon, we have a lot of experience in this, being cult owners. The thing that you actually do see is a lot of people really make it their character identity, which I think, like, which game they're playing or which camp they sit in, that tribal nature of it. And that's one of the reasons why people are so likely to spend money, right? If it's part of your character identity, you want to get all the power that you possibly can. If you stop, you have a smaller number, therefore you're a worse person. And congratulations, you just signed up to become a payer. But I think that you can see it with classic WoW and retail WoW, right? It happened all the time. I'm a classic WoW Andy, you know, and people would actually fight over it. And you know, and then I had a lot of fun in classic WoW. I actually got to be on one of the best guilds to ever exist with some of the best people ever, but those days are long gone. I miss you, Quinn.
Yeah,
Quinn, remember whenever you tried to finesse me out of like fucking 20,000 gold, 2,000 gold about that fucking ingot, and then Stay Safe sold it to me with no interest? Remember that?
It almost worked. We were like one step away, right?
Yeah, I remember that all too well. I don't know.
Do you think the points you brought up are about people's time investments into MMORPGs? They want them to feel like they have value, not just to them, but to other people as well. Because you can generate your own internal value by becoming happy and believing that what you've done, you know, fulfills you. But if what you've done makes you happy only in relation to other people seeing it, that's a very dangerous position to be in, because you're placing your time investment into this game and your overall happiness and enjoyment of it into other people's acceptance, understanding, and then care about it. If you say to someone, hey, I've got 99 woodcutting in RuneScape, someone who plays RuneScape might care. The vast majority of the non-gaming population won't. MMORPG players are heavily invested, and they want their time investment to feel like it has inherent value beyond their own enjoyment, and most of the time it just doesn't.
Yeah, that's how the confirmation bias works, right? That's why people always flock towards people who have a similar view of them as they do of themselves. So you instantly fall into the camp where it's like, I'm a free to play guy, right? Where am I free to play? Where, like, pick up the sticks, let's divide this shit right in two, right? Like, every single person has, to a certain degree, a reaction like that. And with game players, a lot of the time their character is going to be an extension of themselves. And it's funny that now, when you look at games like this, they're kind of becoming Veblen goods. If I could have a giant watch that had my gacha characters on it and I could flex it, I'm sure that something like that would make chicks like me a lot more. So I'm hoping that eventually we have a way to actually flex our gacha accounts and our Diablo accounts.
People do it with everything else in the entire world. Why do you think somebody buys a Lamborghini? You can't drive a Lamborghini 200 miles an hour. You buy it to show off. Why do you think people buy the brand new phones? To show off. Why do you think people buy designer clothes? Like, is Gucci really worth $2,000 for like a jacket? I don't think so, but people do it so they can have that status. So I think, Josh, you're completely right. It's conspicuous spending, and people want to be seen as like successful. And whenever they have something that they consider makes them successful gets diminished and it doesn't matter anymore, well, then they don't matter as much anymore in their mind.
Do you want to hear something crazy?
Go ahead.
You know the reason why I'm so susceptible to spending in video games? Like, this is just the God's honest truth. Because I grew up like super poor, right? So it's like this thing that my brain tries to do to prove to itself value, right? I talked to Dr. K about it. Thanks, Dr. K. I need to talk to you again soon. Hope you're doing all right. But it's like, that's actually one of the reasons why I'm more susceptible to spending. There are things like that everywhere. And it's very clear to see those psychological trends that people have. And it's very easy for the gaming companies to take advantage of it. But I've relapsed.
One of the fascinating things that this all opens up, and again, the psychology behind this entire situation is just super complicated.
Yeah.
But it can create modern day legends. Because, Quinn, when you get that drop, imagine how people are going to respond to that. You are creating a modern mythos right now. People outside of the gaming sphere are following your journey. People are talking about the value of it and the money spent, and they're talking about the time spent, but they're still talking about it, which means that even though this monetization can be seen as abusive, it is creating something akin to a modern day myth. People are excited about this story. Whether you agree or disagree with it, it is creating something wonderful that people are rallying around, and people want to be there when you get that drop. People will say, I was there, and that will give them the value, the validation that not only did they experience something, if they ever meet someone at a convention or in a real life meetup, they'll be able to say, I was there. They'll be able to share that moment with someone else who values that moment, and that will create that bond, that will create that connection between them. So by doing these things, MMORPGs are not only connecting players within the game, even pay-to-win games are creating stories that are going to allow people to connect outside of the game. We can find something positive in this. I mean, Quinn, when you get that drop, what's your plan? I'm hoping you've got party cannons just off camera. Yeah. And you're just going to smash a big red button, confetti explodes, because that'll be a moment, man.
My plan, I don't know. I'm just going to basically yell like a famous quote. This one guy said, what a dog shit is. And then I'm just going to fall off my chair backwards and scream, basically. I don't know. You guys said quotes. I wanted to join it. But no. Do you think it's that? Or do you think that is vicariously ambling through me? You know, do you think
I think it's a bit of both, right? Like, I think people are watching. They're like, wow, another $25. He's not going to get it. And then eventually, whenever you do get it, yeah, they'll be really excited. And then they'll probably figure out the next thing that you're not going to get, right? It's always on to the next one. It's the next thing, etc. No, I understand it very well. I mean, I remember whenever I finally, and like the worst thing about it is like, it's almost like you don't want it to drop because like that's the content, right? Is like getting it. I remember whenever I got.
Yeah, but that's when you're not spending $500 an hour. that's when you're doing free sword runs.
That's true. Yeah, this has a time limit on it.
It's about the journey, and it's about the chat coming on that journey with you. I mean, I haven't spent any money on the games, but I was playing Path of Exile a couple of days ago, just low-level stuff, running around a map, and my chat said, you missed a chest. And there were about 2,000 people there, and I was like, I haven't missed a chest, but they were insisted that I had, so I went back to try and find it, and I couldn't find it. We spent about 20 minutes running around this one map, me trying to find a chest, following directions from chat, which is difficult because there's a delay between when they chat and when I see it. And after 20 minutes, it had become this whole thing. And eventually, in this shadowy corner somewhere, I find the one chest that I've missed in the entire map. Chat goes wild. Don't even open it. I just leave the map. I'm like, oh, good, there it is, and leave. Because I know that no matter what I do, opening that chest will not be as satisfying as the mystery of what could have been in the chest. That is the story. That's the mythos that people are going to say whenever they meet up about it. So a lot of these MMORPGs, we can create a lot of moments as content creators and streamers that the audience will talk about for many, many years to come. Quinn, you're doing that right now. Asmon and Rich, you guys have been doing that for years. When an MMO comes out, it wants to be the game. that creates a moment that people talk about.
Thank you for noticing.
That. And like, I remember the one time, so I went to TwitchCon, and while I was at TwitchCon, one of my viewers ninja looted the most expensive BOE item from one of the guild members in Quinn's guild. And I come back, and we have a trial by combat where Quinn duels this guy out in Westfall, and there are so many people out there. Literally, the server is crashing, and we had to relayer 3 different times. Royson, yeah, you guys remember that. And this guy, and Quinn beats his ass, and Royson has to pay back the money. And like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, that's what MMOs are so good at, is like having those great stories. And this happened like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. It's crazy to think.
That was 4 years ago?
Insane.
Friend of mine, Callum Upton, another streamer, has covered a lot of games like Dreamworld and Earth 2. Callum Upton plays RuneScape. He did a 24-hour stream for charity a couple of months ago, a couple of years ago now, actually. And he ended the 24-hour charity stream by dueling me for his entire bank. We basically said, right, we're going to fight. You risk literally everything. I'll risk everything as well. And he lost that duel. And I've still got all his stuff in my bank. So to commemorate it, I had a mug made because Callum lost exactly 338,238,593 coins worth of value to me. So to us, that was part of our legend. So I've got a mug with that number on one side and Callum's face on the other, and it's always in camera. So every time Callum's watching me, he's reminded of that value that I have of his, and the viewers know what it means. It's nothing malicious between us, but it's that beautiful story. And I think that's what made me gravitate toward MMORPGs as much, because as much as I can talk about my build in Elden Ring, and you can talk about your build in Elden Ring, and we can talk about how we all hated Melania when we were killing her, we don't get to share that live. MMORPGs, we get to share in the moment right there. Quinn, you're going to have tens of thousands of people watching you when you get that drop. Asmon, you had hundreds of thousands of people watching you attempt to get through Lisa Lamossa. You've got all of these stories being made together, and that's what I think makes MMORPGs just so damn special.
That's the best thing about them, right? And like, that's the one thing, like, anytime a game comes out, if it doesn't have that multiplayer element, I am just like, I'm so disappointed. And I think, even think back at Elden Ring, what are some of the most memorable things in like Elden Ring or like Dark Souls? They're invasions, right? Somebody invades and they're trying to kill me, and they're trying to make me do the pot friend emote IRL. And finally, I actually do the emote, and they leave the game and leave me alone like they said they would do, right? It's the human element, the element that's like, it's not a this is not an algorithm that decides, you know, some sort of outcome. It's just anything can happen, and it was great. I think that's the best thing about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think like those. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, we should do questions kind of soon, and you know, show's been going on for quite a while. So if you guys want to send in your questions, just do the hashtag ask in chat, and your questions will pop up if you guys want to ask us anything, and we'll go through some of those in just a little bit.
Do you mind if I go pee really quick? I don't want to step in the same river twice.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
All right, I'll be right back. 1 second.
Yeah. So Quinn, how much money really, like, in total? On Diablo, more how much? Check.
Let me just check the exact amount right now. $22,000, 105.75.
So how much money do you spend an hour?
Well, it depends how much YouTube videos I watch in the between. You know, it depends on the stolen content, really. Yeah, so that is. Let me just confirm. So let me just convert it to real money, just so you guys understand. 105. Yeah. So it's $14,000 US. Okay. And yeah, so I can do a rift in about anywhere between 1 minute 20 seconds and 2 minutes 30. Maybe if I get a really bad rift, maybe 3 minutes. Yeah. So we're talking like each. I think I can get up to like $5,000 in a single stream, like if I really pop off.
Holy shit. Oh my god! Like I hope that they add like a way to do like a crests in one rift run. I think that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
would you
that would be.
Would you do it? Would you do a 100 crest run?
Well, are you kidding me? I would just spam the 100 crest run until I got it, bro. Like it'd be.
Oh my god!
If we go back as well, you. In terms of speaking of crests and elder rifts, before we were talking about how like it's like a pseudo way of like doing a loot box without actually being a loot box. I actually
Yes.
thought about it, and I was like, why do the Elder Rifts scale to your combat rating? And why are they all? Why is it set to this permanent like difficulty that's kind of easy?
See,
It's like,
I hate that. I absolutely hate that because the one thing that I really liked in Diablo 3 was getting really, and this is the same thing in PoE. Josh, did you finish? Did you get to the end game in PoE where you can actually take advantage of that, or are you just still playing?
No, I think I'm at about level 40 or 50-ish around Act 3 or 4 right now. So I've got all that left to come.
Okay, so yeah, you're probably about 200 hours away from that. But like whenever you get there, it's fucking beautiful. It is amazing. Whenever you finally earned all of this accomplishments and you go in, you kill a boss, and it takes like 30 seconds. It's amazing. And like I don't know. Like I feel worried that like gaming is just gonna be that, but for money.
I think it's because, I mean, they want you to finish the Rift. The actual gameplay within the Rift is not the focus to them. It's the focus to the players, but it's not the focus to the company. The Rifts are scaled to your combat level, and they are all relatively easy. I don't think I died in Diablo Immortal while I was leveling up, because death would not help their bottom line. If they do some research and they realise that actually players need to die a certain amount to feel that sense of pride and accomplishment when they finally do get the thing, they'll plan those deaths in. I mean, Candy Crush makes more money than World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush is designed to always be 1 or 2 moves away from finishing the level.
Yeah, it's designed. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, define like game of skill as well. Like, how is a rift that literally scales your character? And I mean, I did an IQ test. It like bugged out, and I landed at 85 IQ, but it felt like you don't even need 85 IQ to beat the rift. I'm talking like you can AFK.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching a Todd thing. I was like alt tabbing and doing calculations. You actually cannot fail it, and it's designed that way. Okay, is it because of the quote unquote, authentic Diablo experience, or is it just because this is like just a pseudo loot box that they put into the game? Like,
if it was an authentic Diablo experience, they wouldn't be paid to win in it at all.
Yeah, well,
they would kill you.
Point out, I don't think anybody's brought this up on this show. I do this all the time, actually, with these. You cannot lose the rifts. There's no challenge there. It is a loot box. So you know how sometimes it'll put the dark affix on and you can't see anything? Mm-hmm. I will instantly leave those, and it mails you back your crests. There is no fail scenario at all, because all you were doing is opening a loot box. So I will literally, when I see an affix I don't like, I just leave. It mails me my crest back, and I go back in. You actually cannot fail these things at all.
It's a good strat. I need to delete my money faster by doing that. Actually, thank you, Rich.
Yes, you will be able to speed up losing your money, and eventually you'll be able to get that 5-star. What you need to do is you don't pick up any of the gems off the floor. Let them get mailed to you, and anytime you see the bad affixes, just poof out. Take the load screen hit, and you'll be spending money like in no time. You'll be a pay pig just like me. But yeah, there's no fail case. The only time that you die in that game is when you walk into the challenge rift and it goes, "Hello, payer, it's time to spend a little bit more." And I go, "Oh, okay, I died. That means I need to go get another gem rank." But now, because I'm on rank 8, if I want to have any upgrade at all, it costs about $4,000 an upgrade. So that's a lot of fun. I saw a question, though, in the chat that I'll answer really quick. It said, "Did you wash your hands?" No. Why would I wash my hands? I sit down when I pee. Did I say the thing right, Asmon?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. You want to do first question?
Do you think Diablo Immortal monetization will affect World of Warcraft monetization? Oh, sorry, I missed the letter. Diablo Immortal will affect World of Warcraft monetization. Honestly, I think that with World of Warcraft, what they most likely will do is what I mentioned a little bit earlier. They are going to try to spam expansions with as little content as possible, because the LTV of the player is already so high. If you can stick them for $60 a year guaranteed, they'll continue to do mounts alongside the subs, and they'll sprinkle in a few cash shop things like with mounts throughout the time. But you already have people in a pay scheme with that game. You may as well just beat them up and steal all of their money with what is already working.
You mentioned earlier, Asmon, that you can purchase the Blizzard token and then change that for gold, and then you can change the gold for Diablo Gold. It's all about how many steps you can add in. If they straight away said, you can buy Invincible for X amount of money, a lot of people are going to buy it. That would be a massive cash-in of company goodwill. I'm not even sure if they'd have enough goodwill left to make that cash-in, but you know that someone is going to buy it. They're going to have a lot of people make money, a lot of short-term profit or long-term loss. How many steps do you need to add in? And it sounds silly, but if you could finish a mythic raid and get the chance to spend money, and Mr. GM on Twitter made a lovely mock-up post. If you could just spend an extra £5 for an extra loot roll, would you do it? How much would it cost? There's going to be a team of people working this out, because it's not just a straight yes or no answer, it's a maybe. There are going to be a team of people working out whether it's worth pushing World of Warcraft players to that point, because there will come a point where it is worth pushing that. They just need to wait for it to get there.
I think so. And the best part about that Mr. GM thing is it, like, at the very bottom of the comment section, there were some people like, well, actually, I mean, if they did do this, I mean, I don't really like running Mythic Plus anyway. I mean, guys, listen, it's only $1.50. I'm getting good pay. I might as well do it. Yeah, so I don't think it's that outrageous.
It's such an interesting thing. When you look at, and I tried to do the maths, if you can just purchase experience, gold, items, materials, or power in a game for X amount of money per hour, and you can go to your job and you can earn X amount of money per hour, there's actually a switch. There is a moment when the most efficient way to play the game becomes go to work. And once the most efficient way to play is to go to work and spend money, the people who are playing will be the ones who are spending the money.
Why do you think I started streaming? This is the goal the whole time.
That's about right, yeah. Yeah, you just make the money so you can afford to buy the stuff. I know that there were times, like, I remember McConnell messaged me, and he said, he's like, man, you need to start streaming again. We're running out of money in Classic WoW. Like, we need to beg for gold again. And, like, that was one of the big reasons why I came back.
Once you add more steps in, and once you make it possible to advance in a game quicker by going to work than by playing the game, the people who are just playing the game for fun, you cash in a lot of goodwill. It's one of the reasons I stopped playing RuneScape back in 2009, because they suddenly said, Squeal of Fortune, you can get experience and gold. And I realized no matter how much I played or advanced, my time would never be worth as much as just throwing money onto that. So I stopped. I was one of the expensives of their cashing in their goodwill. Will Immortal affect World of Warcraft monetization? It'll probably make them set up a psychology team to work out whether it's worth it.
Yep. There it is. I'm not surprised. I think that it'll happen. I'm not. Let's go to the next question. Let's see what else we got. And I'm concerned. I'm more concerned for Diablo 4 because that's what they've already done. But there is a chance. I think that on release, there's at least a 50% chance that it won't be pay to win. Right? I mean, that's 50? A pretty good one.
No,
yeah, that's a lot. That's really good.
It's got a 99% chance no pay to win. Okay. 99. Right. All right, don't get wrong. Like that. You can clip that. Okay. When I say to pay to win, I mean like to the same level of, like, maybe they'll do some bullshit where, like, there's, like, you can buy like some bullshit battle pass thing which gives you like a stash jab. Now if that counts as pay to win, okay, all right.
No. Like, I mean, where you can spend real money and you can make your character more powerful in the end game. Your character will do some form of increased damage or have some form of increased magic find. That's
no shot. No, okay. I don't think that. Okay, I mean, but then again, maybe I'm one of those guys suffering from cognitive dissonance. That's like, just literally using a coping mechanism to try and make myself feel better. I'm not sure. I actually, like, I can't really tell at this point. But I just 50-50. The way I judge it logically is, like, I feel like they're going to make more money if they don't do that, because then the true Diablo fans will buy it, right?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let's look at it this way.
There's dozens of them.
The truth of the matter is you stick everybody for $60, right? With Diablo. And then that's all you get. How many people would you need to, it's a simple math equation. How many people do you need to download the game for free? And then have 20% of them monetize over $60 for it to be more efficient to make a mobile game. And when you see 10 million people downloading in the first week, the math starts to speak for itself, and it does get pretty scary. Now,
honestly, I was gonna say, honestly, the way you put that, it's like, I almost wish that D4 wasn't like you buy the game to a certain extent, like, because you gotta understand, I'm not one of these guys who, like, buys a game and then plays it and then does a campaign and quits. I like to play a game for, like, years. I'm like, like, years and years. Let's just play it for. So, like, in terms of longevity, in terms of the in my opinion, the best way to monetize the game is it's probably like a subscription of some sort, right? Where you can't buy cosmetics, you can't buy anything, and you just pay like a subscription, and everyone's on the same playing field, or like some sort of battle pass type deal, right? And then that way, because they're incentivized to keep making content because they're getting money. If they're not getting money, then why are they going to make anything? Because then you can get Diablo 3 again, where you just 7 months goes by, and then they do a patch which changes one set from like 5,000% more damage to 10,000% more damage.
People who are disagreeing with Quinn right now, you're actually so stupid. He's 100% right. It depends how they actually go about doing it. Why do you think Path of Exile is able to make so much money? They even though they do it in an ethical way, they are able to make money with the new leagues. They straight up make money with the new leagues. And that's why they made something like, I think it was $30 million in the last year that they had to report their earnings.
You look at it, it's transactional, right? People, they create content, and then because they're creating content, people buy the packs, right? And then it's a good thing like that. And that's the best case scenario, right? Like you enjoy a game, so then you continue supporting it, and then they keep making more stuff because they want money, and also they hopefully have a passion for making a cool game, right? And that's like the dream scenario for Diablo 4. Like maybe Joe Shelley or and the various guys, maybe they're hardcore Diablo guys, and they just somehow convince the big wigs at Blizzard, like, yo, let's maybe change things around so we can have like a game that lasts more than a few. Because right now I'm kind of expecting the game to come out, not be pay to win. But then they earn their money. Then they don't have any. They don't, because they're not bringing anything in. There's no new content, and it just kind of like dies out slowly, right? Like Diablo 3, because if they're not making money, why would they keep making more content, right? Like
Diablo 3, exactly. Diablo 3 seasons were so bad, right? Also, what's funny, and a lot of people are going to have a visceral reaction to this, but if you took the loops and you took, like, first of all, the Paragon gating that is done is purposefully done to make you spend more money as well, right? Like it gates all of the players together so they're in the same place, so you can kind of drag people down with you and have them do rifts with you, and also so they can decide when you need to grind gear again. They slow down the amount of gear that you're going to get, so the only way that you can progress is actually doing the rifts. But if they had let dungeons drop the appropriate amount of gear, if Paragons weren't gated the way that they were to make more money, and if they had all of the loops that are paid to access be free to play, the progression in Diablo Immortal could be smoother than the progression in Diablo 3. And the reason that Diablo 3 ended up staying there and you only had the Primal Ancient grind, for example, was because they had no incentive to improve those loops because they weren't making money off of spending time in that game. And that's why Quinn is right on the money there. Like there is, if the game is going to improve over time, there needs to be an incentive for them to make new content, which is why I'm so scared for Diablo 4.
I'm very concerned. Next question. What could be done to salvage and redeem Diablo Immortal right now? I don't think that you can. That's my opinion. I think that is beyond redemption.
Well, if you look at the way it's designed, so you say like, remove pay to win, and then you realize like, okay,
for the whole game.
Look at the whole game is based around this, and then so then it's like, okay, then you remove the Paragon limit, and then what are you left with once you deconstruct it all? You'll just left with like a kind of shittier version of Diablo 3 on a mobile phone. And it's is that selfish at that point? I mean, maybe, but not really, because I think the damage is already done, right? At this point, like, I don't know.
I think it just makes Diablo 4 good. That's the only thing they can do.
The only good thing I will say about Diablo Immortal, and they kind of destroy this with a lot of the ways that it's designed, it is like the best game next to Twitter that you can play on the toilet, right? Like that is fantastic. But the thing is you can't even do dungeons by yourself. Like you can't just, when you have like the 5 minutes or a 20-minute commute, you can't even do dungeons by yourself. You have to find a group, which sucks. So I think that ultimately people already spent so much money, they're never going to change that original monetization scheme, right? They're probably never going to change that. What they could do is they could add banners potentially to make it more fair, but I agree at this point. I'm curious, Josh, what you think of it, but I feel like at this point, it's on to the next game and see if they want to be moral there.
Yeah, I was just listening because Quinn has more experience with Diablo Immortal than I do, so I think his input on how we could change this has much more value than mine does on this specific question. Why are people still playing Diablo 2? Because there's enough content in the game for it to sustain a player base over a long time. I understand that there is a love and a passion to have a lifelong game, a forever game. I don't often look for forever games. I look for a game that is going to give me what I need right now. It's going to provide me with a fun experience, and then I will find another game. Elden Ring's an example. Bought Elden Ring, finished Elden Ring, played New Game Plus through a few times, enjoyed it, moved on to something else. And I believe now that From Software will be motivated to make another game because they have a great deal of a great deal of goodwill banked that they want to make another game. So how do we redeem Diablo Immortal? We try as hard as we can to push it toward the forever game of Diablo 2, which is there's enough content of random stuff. Take away a lot of the paying for the quintessential Diablo experience, the loot explosions, add in a couple of cosmetics, add in possibly a bank slot or two, so you can store even more stuff, maybe expand the inventory if you need to. I understand people will disagree with that because it is mechanical, but compared to what we have now, it's definitely going to generate and garner some goodwill. We salvage the relatively fun, easy-to-access gameplay, because what I love about Diablo Immortal is that you can get up to level 35 within a couple of hours. You can jump in with your friends. It will level scale the rift to you, and you can play through. It's very social. It's exceptionally fun and easy to play socially. I would prefer if there was cross-server and cross-realm matchmaking, because that would make it much easier to make a character. What they have got is the basis for a fun, social, 5 to 10 minute experience. Mm-hmm. If we can focus on that and not overcharge for it, people would enjoy it.
Most of the I do agree. Like, look, if you took the bones of Diablo and reworked them, you could make a good game. But by design, all of those mechanics are focused right now on getting people to spend more money. Like, all of the social mechanics are hinging upon, it's like, oh, let's keep that toxic behavior that we have. Like, oh, you want to get your login reward today? Oh, here's your first kill of the day bonus. Here's this bonus. Here's this bonus. You get 8 of these bounties a day. You got to do your contract as well. You got to do this and this. And then it adds the fact that you have real people going, hey, do you want to do Lassel today? Could you please help me out? Now you feel bad for them. And then you create those social relationships with people because you have to be in a war band to get even more loot. And then those people go, I really want to be immortal on the server. You have to log in at 7 o'clock tonight. If you don't log in at 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to lose our shadow war to become immortal. So all of those social things, it's weaponized humanity. They have literally took everything that's good about the human race and used it against us. Every single inkling that you have where you want to be altruistic and help people and work with them, they are using it to make you spend more money.
So if we could add all that without the need for money, there'd be a hell of a lot of goodwill redeemed.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you would have to rework every single thing in the game, though, but the bones of it, I do agree, are strong in that direction.
Or we could just change it around so you could earn eternal orbs through the game and there was no soft cap daily.
Yeah, I think that you would need to, first of all, you would need to eliminate multiple, like when people talk about the high end of spending, they are actually getting tricked by the token economy, right? You're essentially infinitely spending $20 a day if you want to be maxed because of how the I forget what the actual system's called, the Herodrum something, where you get your rubies, emeralds, and diamonds. I don't know. We can call them Blizzard bucks at this point. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. But you're infinitely spending $20 a day on platinum that will automatically get converted from your gems that you don't even realize what you're spending, right? They're like, oh, we're going to give you aspirant's keys, and then it's going to cost more aspirant's keys. So that's infinitely $20 a day.
In the dream version, though, Rich, these mechanics. So that's a perfect example of one of the like many mechanics that just only exist because it's another avenue to spend money. So it would just be removed, right? Like, and that's the thing, though. You look at that, and you look at what's left. You look at and then that's what I'm saying. Nothing. You remove all these things, and all you have is a shitty version of Diablo 3, which is why I don't think it can be redeemed, because you're literally describing this, and all these in-game mechanics, they make no sense. They're stupid. They're boring, and it's just either to make you log in every day and do some shit, or it's to create another thing that you can spend money on to get ahead of other people, which then gets them. So then you remove all these things, and you literally have you have greater rifts, and you've got, I guess, a world that you can do bounties in, and then you've got a PvP arena, and that's I guess that's one positive that Diablo 3 doesn't have. But I don't know. I think it's unredeemable.
I also look, the PvP arena, man. That is. Would it be good if everybody was in your honest opinion, would it be good if everybody was at the same level? You know that there's a problem in a game when I'm 44-0 and 7, right?
Yeah,
did
y'all see this? Did you guys see this? So Rich queues into a battleground, and Rich has put a little bit of money into his character. And so he's going and he goes 44-0. And he's cackling like a fucking psychopath, killing 3 or 4 people at a time. He's killing people he didn't even aim at.
I was not in a PvP build either, and I would say Demon Hunter is probably the worst PvP. If everything's even, Demon Hunter is probably the worst thing to play in PvP.
That's the funny thing, is that it wasn't even.
It's not. I was hitting them with every single literally I was reading off lines of my CCV every time I took a shot. I was like, so in 2014 I began my professional career, and it was
context, Rich. What would your average battleground in World of Warcraft look like? How many kills and deaths? What are we talking? The average on your warlock guy. What are we talking here?
I was usually sitting in the graveyard watching media share. I was was not doing too hot in most of my battlegrounds. Dude. Usually when I was playing WoW, I would just hear Asmongold go, "Dude, what the fuck, Rich? Dude, what are you doing? Dude, wow, dude, wow.
Come on, Rich. Yeah.
Wow, dude. Oh man, I'll never forget what we were doing when we were raiding, and you were like, "Rich mage, more like poor mage," and then you gave the freaking staff to someone else, man.
Yeah, it was a good one. I thought that one up on the fly too.
Yeah, that's why I joined Quinn's guild.
Yeah, that's actually what happened. Yeah, Rich quit my guild because I, didn't give him items. That's
Quinn
okay.
treated me with respect, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you want to do one more question? Let's do one more.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, it's. Do you think the acceptance of the grind mindset and the time equals money equation make this all work? I think that to an extent you do have people that, it's like grinding for something, you're spending real money for it. In their mind, it's basically the same thing because they don't have currency as time and other people don't have currency as money. So they view it as the same. And I think that's kind of fair, which is I don't really put a whole lot of value in the idea of oh, you spent a lot of time into something, good job. Okay, that's nice. But I think that skill-based rewards are where it really does matter. And I think that skill-based rewards, even in Diablo Immortal, they do trend, and it's easier to get those if you have better gear and you spend money. So it becomes the same thing. Grinding equals money.
What's impossible to compete though? I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. You're never going to be clearing any rift that someone who's put any amount of money into the game. Let's say $500. It doesn't matter. That guy could be Rich Campbell taking a shit on his phone, and he's just going to casually clear that, without even trying, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's bad. I'm not.
It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you try. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'm not the worst video game player ever. I should never be going 44-0. I will admit that right now. I should not be going 44-0. Look, some people called me the Shroud of Final Fantasy 14. Really? Some people did. Some people have called me. Some people even called me the Quin69 of Diablo. I'm not sure if that was a compliment or an insult, but I should not be going 44-0 when I play a battleground on a mobile.
You think the game is designed to make you do that? I've got a very strange lens to look at this situation through. Before I got into acting and streaming and YouTubing, I was a martial arts instructor for a long time. I used to teach people how to defend themselves. And if you were winning every single fight, you weren't learning anything, but you felt great. You felt brilliant. If people were throwing, terrible opponents against me, I felt on top of the world, but I left that session knowing no more than when I started the session. If I needed to learn, there's the old saying, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. try and find a room with people slightly above you. There is a perfect, I think it's called the Goldilocks zone, of how much more skilled an opponent needs to be for your loss against them to still be beneficial to you. And I think it's about 6% better than you. I know it's hard to quantify this, but if it's a one-way war, if you get absolutely demolished, you don't learn anything. If you lose very, very closely, you know why you lost. You can improve. You can get a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, a little bit smarter. Yeah, it's about just being slightly there. So if you win every single fight, what are you learning? Well, you're not learning anything, but you're feeling great. And it's not the game's position to teach you anything. It is the game's position to make you keep spending. If the game wanted you to get better, then they would place you against people who are evenly matched and you would learn and level up. But they risk losing you as a player if you lose too much.
I think
Yeah,
that
no,
makes sense. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, I'm never gonna learn anything in PvP, right? I just hold down right click. That's it. That's literally all I do. But the thing is, though, is it does make me feel good. So I think a lot of people will spend money to try to chase that. And I think a lot of people will also try to spend money for the leaderboards there's a reason there's so many leaderboards, right? There are so many leaderboards and there are so many different servers. So they have more people competing for that first place spot.
Yeah, more people can be winners. Basically, yeah. That's what I think. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I don't really see this changing a whole lot with gaming, to be honest, because I think that until, like, an average person, like what we were talking about, somebody who's just, like, they're not consuming gaming media, until a person like that is okay with it or not okay with it, then nothing's going to change. And I think that's the point where you are going to see change. And I don't know if we're ever going to get there, if you want me to be honest, because those people are not engaged in media. They just play the game, and the success or anything like that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I do want to say right now, I feel like this was kind of like a bit of a doomer episode. It was definitely a little bit on the side of like what's happening to the game industry. But I think it is really important to actually be looking at this stuff and know exactly what you're getting into. I want to give a huge shout out to Josh. Guys, be sure to check out everything that he's putting out. One of the best thought out videos with everything that was happening in Diablo. He does this all the time for so many different games. Follow him on Twitch, follow him on YouTube. And then also I want to give a big shout out to Quinn. A lot of you guys know this. Quinn's obviously been one of my favorite streamers since I started watching Twitch very early on. Fucking love the guy. And also we hit Quinn up like the night before to actually be on. Same with Josh. So thank you guys for making time for us.
Yeah, we did the same with both of you guys. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming on. Mods, if you want to link their socials in chat. And Quinn streams pretty much every day. Josh, you're streaming now too, right?
Yeah, I tend to, on Monday, I have a podcast with Callum Upton where we talk about games design. On Wednesday, I Dungeon Master a live improvised D&D game with Callum, Rage, and Billy. There's no real set overarching campaign. It's more episodic. And on Saturday, I either play an MMORPG or a classic PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 game. I mean, we've recently replayed through Lego Island 2, Time Crisis. I think I finished the Detective Barbie game. It's just a fun time on stream. It's not serious at all.
All right. Well, yeah. So you guys can follow both of them, etc. Thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we are going to, as always, do the after show over on Rich's stream, where we're going to talk about, answer some more questions from you guys, do some viewer call-ins, and just in general hang out with y'all. So anyway, thank you guys so much for coming and showing up. And I'm excited to see where this goes. I wonder if Blizzard is going to just ignore all the feedback and just keep pumping out more different ways to make money out of you. It's crazy.
Also, guys, be sure to follow Quinn's journey to getting a 5-star gem.
Yeah, we want to know, Quinn. As soon as that happens, man, I want it all over Twitter. We need to know when you get that 5-star.
Tomorrow for sure.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you get it, though? Are you going to keep playing? Or are you just trying to get the gem and then...
I'm a scientist, so I think simply getting the 5-star gem is probably a little bit too simple. I'm thinking maybe we need to figure out do a test to see how much money it costs to upgrade to max, maybe 2 5-star gems, maybe 3 5-star gems. It's one of these things where, scientists, we gotta really explore
Test
what
the limits of reality.
One isn't enough data points. You need multiple data points of that on the graph. Draw the line.
Exactly.
Very good. Yes, exactly. Well, anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I will be back online on Saturday, and we will be back into the usual stuff. And again, this next Tuesday coming up, we will be beginning Final Fantasy XIV once again. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to follow Josh and Quinn. And we're going to go on over to the after show on Rich's channel. You guys can just hang out over here if you want, and I will host over to it in just a little bit. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. And until the next time, peace.